Chapter 264. For 5 consecutive days, Lin Muyu had been immersed in the research and creation of the use of light elemental energy. Initially, when she slashed down with her sword, only the sword chi would blow on the shield. The light elemental rule power did not affect it at all. However, Lin Muyu used the 4-dimensional power to constantly accelerate the speed of the light elemental energy in the blade. Finally, on the 2nd day she was able to produce a light elemental righteous force. On the 3rd day, every time she slashed down with her sword, the light elemental energy had already shown signs of leaving the blade. On the 5th day he had achieved great success. Shwa! The blade fell heavily. The moment it approached the shield, it was suddenly stopped by Lin Muyu. However, the light energy contained in the blade did not stop. It directly passed through the blade and landed on the shield. Ka! A shocking scene appeared. The ray of sword chi condensed from the law of light went straight through the shield and instantly cut off a corner of the office desk. It's done. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. He wiped the sweat off his forehead. At this time, the elven female officer Lulu, whom he had not seen for a long time, flew out. She smiled and said, "Congratulations, brother, you have created a skill." Lin Muyu grinned. He suddenly realized that the word skill had become so unfamiliar. Was this slash really just a simple game skill? Probably not. This was just a killing skill. Brother, what do you plan to name this skill? Lulu asked with a smile. Lin Muyu said without hesitation, Light Splitting Slash, evolved from Lightning Strike. I've already thought about it. Not a bad name. Lulu flew around him and said with a smile, Brother's strength is getting stronger and stronger. This is great. Lin Muyu laughed out loud. He raised his long sword and calmly launched another attack. He succeeded once again. The light-splitting sword chi pierced through the floor. Its power was astonishing. He had completely mastered the light-splitting slash. The most terrifying part of the light-splitting slash was that it could kill people from a distance. No matter how strong the chi of vigor or how thick the armor of the opponent was, when the light-splitting slash slashed down, it was equivalent to ignoring all of the opponent's defenses and directly striking their body. After dinner, he continued to practice and strengthen the light-splitting slash. Lin Muyu had a stubborn personality. He would never be satisfied if he did not increase the lethality and speed of this move to the maximum. This was probably one of the reasons why he was able to practice to this level. He blew out the candlelight in the office, and the dragon spirit sword in his hand glowed with a faint golden light of dawn. He suddenly swung the sword, and the light-splitting sword chi flew through the air and slowly dissipated. The light-splitting slash was a powerful attack, but it didn't have a long range. It was the kind of attack that had extremely high lethality within 5 meters, but outside that range, it would automatically disintegrate. Dong dong, a holy temple guard knocked on the door and said, Deacon Lin, there is someone outside the main hall looking for you. He claims to be from Heaven's Pivot Province and has come to Lanyan City to look for you. He hopes that you can meet him. Dubhe Province? Lin Muyu frowned and said, I don't know anyone from Dubhe Province. Did you ask who it was? I didn't ask if Lord Deacon wants to see me or not. Take him to the living room. I'll be right there. Yes. Lin Muyu tidied up his attire and put on the deacon's armor. He hung the dragon spirit sword on his waist and walked out of the office with his hand on the hilt. Immediately, 2 holy temple guards followed him to the living room. The living room was brightly lit, and a gold star instructor was guarding outside the door with a steel knife. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, Deacon Lin. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and entered the living room. He saw that it wasn't just one person but a total of 3 people. A stooped old man with a cloak on his head sat there quietly. Behind him were 2 handsome young men. One of them looked somewhat familiar, but Lin Muyu couldn't remember where he had seen this person before. Hello, I'm Lin Muyu. May I know who you are? Lin Muyu stood respectfully in front of the old man. At this time, the old man slowly raised his head and lifted his cloak. A pale face appeared in front of Lin Muyu. He looked to be around 60 years old, but he was hale and hearty, completely different from Qin Jin's sickly complexion. His eyes shone brightly as he stood up with a smile and cupped his fists. This old man is Yuqi Tian. Greetings, Temple Deacon Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu was taken aback. Yuqi Tian? At this time, Deacon Guyang beside her was taken aback. Yuqi Tian? You're Lord Yuqi Tian? Yes, I am. How could I be wrong? Yuqi Tian smiled. This person looked like he had a powerful background. Lin Muyu turned around and asked, Deacon Guyang, I'm not very familiar with the situation in Heaven's Pivot Province. Yuqi Tian is? Guyang smiled. You really don't know. The Empire's garrison in Heaven's Pivot Province is called the Heaven's Pivot Army. It has 80,000 soldiers, and the general of the Heaven's Pivot Army is this General Wuxia Tian in front of you. And General Wuxia is not only the general of the Heaven's Pivot Army, but also the head of the entire Wuxia family. He is in charge of smelting iron, alchemy, commerce, and many other areas in Heaven's Pivot Province. It can be said that 50% of the Heaven's Pivot Province's wealth and military strength belong to the Wuxia family. Lin Muyu was stunned. No matter what, he didn't dare associate this old man with the legendary Wuxia Tian. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said respectfully, "Lin Muyu pays his respects to General Wuxia." Wuxia Tian smiled and stepped forward to hold Lin Muyu's arm. "You don't have to be so polite, Lord Lin Muyu. This old man has come to Lanyan City as a visitor and didn't dare disturb His Majesty. Moreover, I'm here to discuss something with you, Lord Lin Muyu." "Oh, please speak." "It's like this. Last time, Lord Lin Muyu forged a purpling sword and broke the long sword forged by my son. I'm ashamed to say this. This old man has failed to teach his son well. That time my son offended you. I hope you'll be magnanimous enough to forgive him." Lin Muyu was taken aback. She raised her head to look at the young men behind Wuxia Tian. She finally remembered that one of them was Wuxia Yen, the fellow who had vowed to forge a sword for Qinin. So they were here for this matter. "I wonder what you're looking for me for, Lord?" Lin Muyu pursed his lips and cursed inwardly. Sure enough, once the blacksmithing skill was revealed, it would cause trouble. Others might not know what it was, but Wuxia Tian was a famous blacksmith of the present age. How could he not know? He cupped his hands and said respectfully, "Old General, that purpling sword was forged by a hermit master. I don't know where he is now. You won't be able to get any information from me?" Wuxia Tian couldn't help but smile. "Don't be nervous, Lord. This old man is here not to find him, but to find you." "Oh, what do you mean?" Wuxia Tian smiled calmly. "A straightforward man doesn't resort to insinuations. In the last few months, the Chamber of Commerce in Lanyan City has been selling some mysterious and spirit-grade weapons. The forging methods of these weapons are very unique. I've collected a few of them and after thorough study, I found that the forging methods of the blades are different from those of any blacksmithing family on the continent. The forging methods of the blades are ingenious, and the layering of the blades has probably overturned the millennium-old way of forging weapons on the continent." Lin Muyu's heart was beating like a drum. And then, Wuxia Tian smiled. "This method is certainly valuable, but the person's forging methods are hidden well. That's what's most valuable. I'm also right. That hermit certainly doesn't want to reveal his name, so I can't force him. But I can't return from Lanyan City empty-handed. If Lord Lin Muyu knows the layering of the blades, please give it to this old man. I'll reward you handsomely." Lin Muyu racked her brains for a way to refuse. It was then that Wuxia Tian took out a stack of gold notes from his pocket. These are the gold notes of the Imperial Gold Bank. Each one is worth 100,000 Jin coins and there are 50 of them in total. If Lord Lin Muyu is willing to teach me the layering edge forging technique, I'll take these 5 million Jin coins as my reward. I know that you're an expert in weaponsmithing, so I'm sure you can understand my thirst for knowledge?" Lin Muyu nodded. She couldn't help but be moved by the 5 million Jin coins. "Since old General Wuxia Tian has come to Lanyan City, I won't let your trip be in vain. Please wait for a night and I'll give you the secret manual you want tomorrow." "Yes, thank you, Lord." The voice of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor came from high. What a greedy and lecherous Lin Ruoji." Lin Muyu said righteously, "At most, I'm greedy. Am I lecherous?" "You aren't?" The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said bluntly. "That night at the Umbrella Dragon Tavern, do you dare say that your hands never touched Qin Yin's breasts?" Lin Muyu was speechless. "That was an accident. An explanation is a cover-up." Greedy and lecherous Lin Ruoji. "Seen him? Are you mad?" Greedy and lecherous, exasperated, immoral Lin Ruoji. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor laughed proudly. He almost sang these words out loud. Lin Muyu couldn't be bothered with him anymore. She thought to herself that one day she would have to get the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor out of Yihai. Otherwise, her every word and action would be seen through by another person. It was a weird feeling. Wuxia Tian, Wuxia Yen, and a dozen or so retainers stayed in the post house, waiting for Lin Muyu's reply. Naturally, Lin Muyu couldn't find that hermit expert because he was the one. However, he had no choice but to betray his own principles for the sake of these 5 million Jinin coins. 5 million Jinin coins. Even if he sold the entire Kathaya city, it wouldn't be worth this much money. 5 million Jinyin coins was equivalent to half of the Imperial Merchant Guild's output. Thus he didn't sleep for long that night. He burned the candle and read through the night, letting Lulu verbally relay all the details and methods of refining weapons into a book. There were many details that even he didn't understand because these weapon forging techniques were relatively simple and unadorned. Lin Muyu, who was closer to the truth, could directly use the refining cauldron to complete the process. It was completely different. The next day Yuchi Tian arrived with his clansmen early in the morning. When he saw the book, it was as if he had found a treasure. After skimming through it a few times, his face was full of enlightened expression. He quickly handed over 50 gold notes and said, "Milord, this old man thanks you on behalf of the entire Yuchi family." "Old General, there's no need to be so polite. After all, I'm taking the money," Lin Muyu said as he counted the gold notes. "In that case, this old man and the others will take their leave immediately." "I won't see you out," Lin Muyu nodded. Everyone had their own thoughts. Yuchi Tian planned to return to Heaven's Pivot Province as soon as possible to restore the reputation of the world's #1 weaponsmithing family. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, wanted to use this money to continue to strengthen and expand the Longdan Army Camp's military strength. Chapter 265. That night, Lanyan City was silent. In the depths of the Duke of Seven Seas mansion, Tang Xiaoxi's room was located in the most secluded corner. At this moment, the starlight from the sky shone on the ceiling as if attracted by a mysterious force. In the room, Tang Xiaoxi sat quietly on the bed. A faint flame energy lingered around her body and merged with the starlight that shone into the room. After an unknown period of time, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly opened her beautiful eyes. Starlight flowed in her palm and a beautiful seal appeared. She gently opened her hand and with a loud bang, the Star Offering Seal, the 5th level of the Firefox Seal, directly smashed the table in the room into pieces. Finally, the Star Offering Seal is complete. Tang Xiaoxi secretly rejoiced, but the raging flames around her were still swirling endlessly, and they were emitting sharp whistles. "Oh, what's wrong?" She was stunned. The next moment, she felt the blood in her body seem to be surging because of the Star Offering Seal. Her skin faintly emitted a fiery red brilliance, as if her body was about to catch fire. "Ah!" Tang Xiaoxi let out a miserable groan and curled up on the bed like an injured little beast. Her body trembled and the flame in her body even shot out through her clothes. In the blink of an eye, the bedding and other things were all set on fire. But it seemed that this was not the end. A charming voice laughed and said in Tang Xiaoxi's body, "Release me. Release me. Who are you?" Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were filled with tears. Because of the pain, her body trembled and she asked loudly, "Who are you?" But no one answered her. Instead, the power in her body made her raise her arm involuntarily. Rays of divine light quickly gathered in her palm and another Firefox Seal appeared. With a bang, it suddenly smashed through a corner of the roof. It was the 6th level of the Firefox Seal, the God-Gathering Seal. "Ah!" Tang Xiaoxi let out a miserable groan. The flame on her left arm was surging and the energy in her palm condensed into a seal, forcing her to raise her palm. The flame flourished, boom. The entire wall turned to dust. It was the 7th level of the Firefox Seal, 5 Chi Seal. Outside the wall, the 4 Seven Seas City cavalry guards stared dumbfoundedly at the fire that lingered in the room and shouted, "Princess Shi, what's wrong with you? Princess Shi, you, get away from me." Tang Xiaoxi ordered loudly, but these imperial cavalry were all Tang Lan's personal guards. Seeing Tang Xiaoxi in such a state, how could they leave? "Ah!" Tang Xiaoxi tossed and turned on the bed, endless fire intent surging out from the depths of her Qi Si. With a wung sound, the Firefox Seal appeared in her palm once again. Soul-suppressing seal. This was a seal that even Tang Bin had not successfully cultivated. "Go!" Tang Xiaoxi shouted at the cavalry. The cavalry saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly retreated, but it was too late. The soul-suppressing seal launched an earth-shattering attack. After a loud bang, everything within a 20-meter radius was turned into ashes. None of the 4 cavalry guards survived. Tang Xiaoxi's face was covered in tears, but the flame in her body was still surging. The heaven and earth seemed to have lost their color, and the stars in the sky seemed to have dimmed. Countless stars seemed to have fallen at this moment. A Firefox Seal appeared in Tang Xiaoxi's right palm. Reincarnation Seal, the strongest technique of the 7 Seas Tang sect. Boom. The entire Lanyan city seemed to be trembling. The Reincarnation Seal almost destroyed half of the Duke's mansion. Woo woo, Tang Xiaoxi knelt on the ground in tears. Her body was surrounded by raging flames. She couldn't control this power. It was as if something in her body had suddenly awakened, and this power was destructive. It didn't differentiate between friend and foe. Half of the Duke's mansion's servants had already died under her Firefox seal. Let me go. The seductive voice in her body sounded again. I am you and you are me. Let me go. There's no need to endure it anymore. Ah! Tang Xiaoxi hugged her head with her arms and sat there in pain, howling miserably. From afar, another group of servants rushed over and asked loudly, Princess Shi, are you all right? However, at this moment they didn't see Tang Xiaoxi. Instead, it was a young girl kneeling in the raging flames. 9 flaming tails danced behind her, and 2 fox ears grew out of her long hair. The raging flames surrounded her, and the 9 flaming tails danced seductively, accompanied by a seductive voice. Tang Xiaoxi slowly raised her head, and her beautiful eyes were suffused with a faint golden luster. All her clothes had been burned by the raging flames, and at this moment she was already kneeling there naked. Behind her, the 9 flaming tails swayed gently with her consciousness, but under the cover of the flames, outsiders couldn't see anything at all and didn't know that it was her. What happened to me? What happened to me? Tang Xiaoxi cried and muttered to herself. After the power in her body was released, she could feel that she had at least obtained the power of the 3rd tier of the heavenly state. But so what? She didn't look like a human at all. What's that? From afar, a group of guards watched with their mouths agape. One of them shouted in a low voice, Demon! It's a demon! Heavens, why is that 9-tailed demon in the Duke's residence? Where's Princess Shi? Hurry up, kill this demon and find Princess Shi. A few guards drew their bows and aimed at her. Tang Xiaoxi raised her head and looked at them. Her golden eyes were filled with coldness, and her lips curled into a cold smile. There was an endless murderous intent in her heart, but just as she was about to attack, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly groaned. She was restraining this crazy murderous intent. She couldn't kill anymore or she would really become a demon. Go, we have to escape from here. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were filled with tears. Suddenly, she turned to look in the direction of the Holy Temple and Zetian Palace. Without looking back, she dashed out. Her speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye she disappeared into the night. Her 9 fiery tails swayed irregularly. In the night she looked so beautiful. However, this beauty was filled with killing intent. At the north gate of Yanlan City, a group of imperial guards were standing guard. It was late at night and martial law had been imposed. Every night, Yanlan City was prohibited from entering. Hua! A fiery light appeared behind him, immediately causing the group of imperial army soldiers to be dumbfounded. It was a beautiful firefox. Under its 9 dancing tails was the form of a beautiful young lady. Although they couldn't see her clearly due to the lingering flames, they could still vaguely make out the graceful curves of her body and her unparalleled beauty. What's that? The centurion on duty roared, Demon, what kind of demon is this? Men, take her down. A group of imperial guards pulled out their swords and sabers and rushed over, but the 9-tailed fox spirit didn't pay attention to them. In a flash, she flashed through the gap between the imperial guards. She raised her right palm and whimpered. Starlight lingered in her palm. It was the star offering seal, one of the firefox seals. Bang! A large hole in the shape of the star offering seal was blasted on the heavy iron gate of Yanlan City. The 9-tailed fox spirit quickly dashed out and disappeared into the night without looking back. Under the starlight, the beautiful girl transformed into the 9-tailed fox spirit and ran wildly at the edge of the dragon-seeking forest. She closed her eyes and let her tears flow freely. The crystal-clear tears splashed on the newly grown grass in the forest, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into a flame that engulfed the grass. It was as if her entire body was filled with the power of fire. Home? Where is home? On top of a giant rock in the wilderness, the girl slowly turned around. A pair of golden eyes reflected the outline of Yanlan City. Home was there, but she could never go back. After a night of drastic changes, the entire Duke of Seven Seas mansion was engulfed in a sea of fire. The fire was only extinguished in the early morning, but many of the servants had died, and the Princess Tang Xiaoxi was nowhere to be found. Nothing could be found. Knock, knock, knock. Before the sun rose, violent knocks echoed on the gate of the Holy Temple. Who is it? A sleepy Holy Temple guard opened the peephole and looked outside. He saw a beautiful girl in a princess's cloak standing outside with a group of imperial guards. His heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly opened the gate and knelt on the ground. Your Highness, Bring me to see Lin Muyu? Qin Yin's face was gloomy. Yes. At this time, Lin Muyu had just finished one cycle of the Dragon Forging Bone Remnant Scroll and was absorbing spiritual energy from the Sea Spirit Field to replenish her overused fighting energy. But at this time there was a violent knock on the door. The guard shouted, "Deacon Lin, Her Highness Qin Yin is here to see you." Lin Muyu was dumbfounded. The sun hasn't even risen yet, why is Xiao Yin here? Before he could open the door, a golden light suddenly cut through the room's door. Qin Yin rushed in with the purple-ing sword in hand and god-binding chains wrapped around her body. Her face was full of worry. "What's wrong, Xiao Yin?" Lin Muyu was startled, but he calmly said, "Big brother Yu, did you know that there was a big fire in Yanlan City last night?" Qin Yin said with red eyes. "Yes, I know. Did someone go to put out the fire? Where did the fire start?" "The Duke of the Seven Seas mansion." Tears rolled down Qin Yin's eyes. "Something happened to Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi? What happened to Xiao Shi?" Lin Muyu got up and hurriedly grabbed her armor and put it on. She said, "Xiao Yin, tell me quickly." The Duke of the Seven Seas mansion was on fire. Xiao Shi disappeared. Someone said they saw a monster. It was a nine-tailed demon fox. Its body was covered in flames. No one dared to go near it. And, last night, the same monster broke through the north gate of Yanlan City. Nine-tailed demon fox. Lin Muyu shook his head forcefully and said painfully, "Who cares about the nine-tailed demon fox? What happened to Xiao Shi? Is there no trace of her?" "No, Xiao Shi seemed to have disappeared into thin air," Qin Yin said while crying. Lin Muyu tried his best to calm down, but how could he? There was an ominous feeling in his heart. The nine-tailed demon fox was not simple. It might have a great connection with Tang Xiaoxi. Father has already summoned Feng Jixing, Chu Huaying, Zhen Yifan, and the others to deal with this matter. Hurry up and follow me to the palace. Qin Yin said. Yes. Lin Muyu quickly put on his cloak and grabbed the dragon spirit sword on the table. Let's go. Chapter 266. There hasn't been a demon in Lanyan City for hundreds of years. In the Zetian Palace, Zheng Yifan had a solemn expression as he said, "Your Majesty, no matter where this nine-tailed demon fox came from, we can't just sit back and do nothing. Moreover, Princess Shi might have already been killed by this nine-tailed demon fox. This old subject suggests that we send the Flying Mount Battalion and the Divine Might Battalion into the dragon-seeking forest to hunt this nine-tailed demon fox." Feng Jixing was silent, his expression ugly. Chu Huayin said, "Marquis, we still haven't figured out where this nine-tailed fox came from. Isn't it too much to say to kill it? What else do we need to figure out?" Zheng Yifan sneered. "Chu Huayin, do you still want to flirt with a demon like this nine-tailed fox?" "Enough." Lin Muyu shouted, not giving the divine Marquis any face. She turned to Qin Jin and cupped her fists. "Your Majesty, I took a look at the seal on the north gate of Lanyan City. I've seen it before. It's the Star Offering Seal, the fifth form of the Seven Seas Tang Sect's Firefox Seal." Qin Jin was stunned. You mean?" Lin Muyu nodded. "I'm afraid the only person in Lanyan City who can use the Firefox Seal at night is Xiao Shi. Last night, the Imperial Guard said that the seal was left behind by the nine-tailed fox. Then Xiao Shi." Qin Yin was shocked. "Brother Yu, are you saying that the fox is Xiao Shi?" "It's just a guess, but it's very possible." Lin Muyu sighed. "No matter what, Your Majesty, please give the order. I'm willing to go to Dragon Forest to find Xiao Shi. As for the others, there's no need. Anyone who dares to mention killing the nine-tailed fox will be my enemy, because that means killing Xiao Shi." Qin Jin couldn't help but frown. Are you really sure that this nine-tailed fox is Xiao Shi? How is that possible? Xiao Shi is Duke Lan's granddaughter, how could she be a monster?" Zheng Yifan cupped his fists and said, "Your Majesty, regardless of whether this nine-tailed demon fox is Princess Shi or not, the descent of the demon clan is bound to bring disaster and chaos. How can a princess compare to the fortunes and misfortunes of the world? As long as Your Majesty agrees, I am willing to personally lead the Divine Might Battalion into the dragon-seeking forest and capture this nine-tailed demon fox alive." Qin Jin raised his hand lightly and said, "Your courage is commendable, but the dragon-seeking forest is steep and dangerous. Your Excellency is an important official of the Empire, so there's no need for you to take the risk yourself. It's better to leave this matter to the four heroes of Lanyan." Zheng Yifan was startled and looked a little confused. "His Majesty doesn't trust me anymore?" "Of course not." Qin Jin smiled. "Official Zhenqing doesn't need to be so suspicious. We're just worried about your health. There's no need to say anything else, just leave this matter to Lin Muyu. He has the best personal relationship with Xiao Shi, so he'll definitely live up to everyone's expectations and bring Xiao Shi back safely. However what? Lin Muyu asked. Qin Jin said calmly, however, if this nine-tailed demon fox really is Xiao Shi and has already fallen into the path of demons, then I'll leave it to you to decide. I'll allow you to kill her on the spot. A chill ran down Lin Muyu's spine. Although it was already spring, he couldn't help but shudder. You. Feng Jixing looked at him with a pained expression. If there's really no other way, why don't I go instead? Lin Muyu shook his head. No, I'll go. Lin Muyu then raised his head to look at Qin Jin and said, Your Majesty, Lin Muyu will set off immediately. I won't be taking care of the matters of the Divine Temple and the Eagle Nest Camp for the time being. Finding Tang Xiaoxi is the most important thing. Go. Yes. Lin Muyu turned around and left the Zetian Palace. He leaped onto his horse and galloped out of Lanyan City. In the Zetian Palace, everyone was still frowning. Qin Jin's expression was dark and uncertain. Finally, he slammed his fist on the armrest and said, The nine-tailed demon fox has reappeared in the world. Sai, what should we do? Qin Yin said, Father, what will happen if the nine-tailed demon fox reappears in the world? Qin Jin looked at his daughter and said, The last time the nine-tailed demon fox reappeared was more than 9,000 years ago. At that time, the Qin Empire had yet to be established. At that time, the empire was ruled by the four great empires. After the nine-tailed demon fox descended into the world, she transformed into a peerless beauty and married the Emperor of Qin. She seduced the wise emperor and conquered the entire continent in just 5 years. However, the population of the continent was reduced by more than half. In the end, the nine-tailed demon fox revealed her true form and killed the Emperor of Qin. She massacred 28 cities before flying away. She never returned, leaving behind only a nightmare. Chu Huayin gritted his teeth and said, Your Majesty, this is only a rumor. We don't know if it's true or not. Qin Yin also said, That's right, Father. If the nine-tailed demon fox last night was really Xiao Shi, then it means that she still has a conscience. Otherwise, the imperial guards guarding the city would have all been killed. Feng Jixing also cupped his fists and said, This general agrees with Her Highness Yin's words. This nine-tailed demon fox is definitely not the one from 9,000 years ago. At least she still has a conscience. No matter what, the world is the most important. Qin Jin took a deep breath and said, Minister Jinqing, do what you think should be done. We will allow you to act on your own, but remember, if you meet Lin Muyu in the dragon-seeking forest, you must not hurt him. Otherwise we will not let you off easily. Zheng Yifan cupped his fists and smiled. Rest assured, Your Majesty. This old subject will not let you down. Father. Qin Yin suddenly cried out, Father, how can you do this? That Xiao Shi, it's Xiao Shi. Is the empire really that important in your heart that you can completely disregard Xiao Shi's life? Qin Jin frowned. Xiaoyin, you've grown up. You should know how to make choices. This is the pain of growing up. This is cold-bloodedness, not growth. Qin Yin's gaze turned cold. Father, since you've made up your mind, then Xiaoyin will take her leave. Wait, where are you going? Qin Jin asked loudly. However, Qin Yin turned around and left without saying a word. She retrieved her warhorse from outside the main hall and left Zetian Palace alone. Rebellious, really rebellious. Qin Jin gritted his teeth. Feng Jixing hurriedly cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, this general is also going to the dragon-seeking forest? Yes, go. You must ensure Her Highness Yin's safety. Yes. Qin Jin's heart was in a mess. He turned to look at Chu Chu and said, Chu Chu, you're the princess's tutor. Quickly chase after them and ensure Xiao Yin's safety. Yes, this old man will go now. Zhen Yifan, Chu Chu, Feng Jixing, and the rest left one after another. The entire Zetian Palace was dead silent. Qin Jin's face was filled with pain. After a long time he murmured, Qin Lei, temporarily take charge of the imperial army and ensure the safety of the imperial capital. Chu Huayin, lead the 5,000 Flying Mount Battalion and search for Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Yes. Qin Lei said respectfully. Chu Huayin cupped his fists and raised his head to ask, Your Majesty, what should we do if we find Princess Shi? Qin Jin took a deep breath and said slowly, Don't hurt her. Chu Huayin's face lit up. Yes, this general will go. Thud, thud, thud. The intense sound of horse hooves galloping could be heard at the edge of the dragon-seeking forest. It was noon, and Lin Muyu had already galloped for hundreds of miles, but she still couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi. Along the way there were a few burn marks on the ground, but they were intermittent and very soon she lost all clues. Furthermore, she couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi's aura even after using the spirit pulse technique to search. Instead, the aura of spirit beasts appeared within the radius of the spirit pulse technique's search. Lin Muyu's heart was in a mess. How could she still have the mood to think about spirit beast? Tang Xiaoxi was only one person, and the longer she stayed in the dragon-seeking forest, the more dangerous it would be. Lulu, are you there? As they galloped, Lin Muyu called out to the female elf official. With a whoosh, Lulu's exquisite figure flew out of Yi-Hai and sat on Lin Muyu's shoulder. She smiled and said, "Brother, I don't know where Sister Tang Xiaoxi is either. But you're more familiar with the dragon-seeking forest than I am. Where do you think Xiaoxi would go?" Lin Muyu asked. "Brother, you're being too concerned." Lulu frowned and said, "The dragon-seeking forest has a radius of thousands of miles, so how would Lulu know where Tang Xiaoxi would go? Moreover, you should be the one asking. You know Tang Xiaoxi better than Lulu, so you should know where she would go." Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. Xiaoxi, she might think that she can't go back to Lanyan City. Looking at her, she must be very sad and unwilling to see us again. Maybe she will go back to another home? Qihai City? Brother, if you think so, then let's go to Qihai City. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Then let's go to Qihai City. Lulu, draw a map for me. Okay. In his mind, the female elf officer quickly drew a large map of the dragon-seeking forest for him, marking the traces of the Seven Seas City in the distance. The Seven Seas Pass was a path that he had to pass through. Perhaps with the speed of the warhorse, he could enter the Seven Seas Pass before Tang Xiaoxi. When the time came he would stand guard there. This was the highest possibility of meeting Tang Xiaoxi. However, Lin Muyu didn't know that since Tang Xiaoxi was unwilling to meet him and Qin Yin in the form of a nine-tailed fox, why would Tang Xiaoxi be willing to meet Tang Lan and the Tang sect in this form? The afterglow of the setting sun shone on Qihai City, and night fell on this famous northern city again. Whoosh! A messenger bird flapped its wings and landed in the courtyard. Tang Bin, who was brewing tea, was slightly stunned and frowned. Where did this messenger bird come from? Men, bring it to me. Yes. A guard brought the messenger bird over. Tang Bin took out the letter and glanced at it. His face was full of shock. Young master, what's wrong? The guard asked. Tang Bin gritted his teeth. Xiaoxi has demonized? Demonized? What's demonized? Xiaoxi went berserk while cultivating the fire fox seal. She has already turned into a nine-tailed fox and descended into the world. Don't say anything else. Prepare the men and gather all the elites in my mansion. After reporting to grandfather, we will set off to the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Yes. The guard cupped his fists and raised his head. His eyes flickered with a strange light as he said, Young master. Princess Xi is the biggest competitor for the inheritance of Seven Seas City. Young master, are you really going to rescue Princess Xi from the dragon forest? Xiaoxi is my younger sister. Of course I have to save her. A chill flashed in Tang Bin's eyes. But the nine-tailed fox is not my younger sister. Chapter 267. 2 days and 2 nights later, although it was already spring, the Seven Seas Pass still seemed to be frozen in ice and snow. Moreover, the sky was still drifting with large snowflakes. Lin Muyu slowly rode her horse to the outskirts of the city, but she did not enter. She raised her pear-blossom spear and silently guarded the barren forest, allowing the snow to fall on her body. Woo-woo! Beside the horse's hooves the Acatosaurus whimpered, its body slightly curled up. It seemed to be complaining that this place was extremely cold and asking Lin Muyu why she had to come to this kind of place to suffer. Lin Muyu was worried about Tang Xiaoxi. She dismounted and gently stroked the little dragon's head. Your big sister Xiaoxi is in danger. We have to protect her. The Acatosaurus seemed to understand. It slowly raised its head, then used its head to rub against Lin Muyu's arm and nestled in her embrace. The human and pet were together, keeping each other warm. Outside the Seven Seas Pass was the dragon-seeking forest. It was not safe, and very few merchants dared to pass through here during the day. Even if they dared to go on the main road, they would gather at least 100 people before setting off. Even the Tianchong Legion's patrols that went out of the city had at least 100 people. As night fell, Lin Muyu shivered as she started a bonfire in the sea of snow. The little dragon whimpered as it took up residence in the surroundings. This time Lin Muyu had come out in a hurry and did not prepare anything. Thus she had no tent or food. She could only melt some snow for drinking water. As for food, it was a wild rabbit that she had hunted in the mountains not long ago. The wild rabbit on the bonfire gave off a strong fragrance. Lin Muyu only had time to eat one leg before the rest was eaten by the Acatosaurus. This little fellow's appetite was too good. It ate more than half of the rabbit, but it was still complaining about being hungry. It was no wonder, as it usually ate at least 7 or 8 rabbits a day. Lin Muyu's gaze never left the Great Tao. At the same time, the spirit pulse technique was also maintained in a state of activation. Not a single aura in the surroundings could escape his senses. The pear blossom spear stabbed into the snow at the side. Hugging the dragon spirit sword, he slowly fell asleep. But not long after, he suddenly opened his eyes. In the southeast direction, a very strong aura was rapidly approaching. Xiaoxi. He opened his eyes and looked hopefully into the distance. However, he was disappointed. Not long after, a bloodthirsty tiger appeared in his field of vision. This was a bloodthirsty tiger that came out to hunt at the beginning of spring. There were 3 golden lines on its head. It was a 3,000-year-old spirit beast. In the past, it would have been a deadly existence, but now, this 3,000-year-old bloodthirsty tiger was not even worthy of Lin Muyu's attention. However, because of the spirit pulse technique, Lin Muyu's aura was restrained. Thus, in the eyes of the bloodthirsty tiger, Lin Muyu was nothing more than a delicious meal. Its paws lightly landed on the snow, and it walked step by step towards Lin Muyu. The bloodthirsty tiger's eyes were filled with a fierce light. It could not wait to enjoy this delicious meal. Lin Muyu let out a long sigh. He could not help but feel disappointed. He had thought that this aura belonged to Tang Xiaoxi. Thus, he gently stroked the little dragon's head. The feast is coming soon. Wait for it. The Acatosaurus raised its head and rubbed against his arm. It howled as if to say, "Then why aren't you going?" However, Lin Muyu could not be bothered to move. He was waiting for the bloodthirsty tiger to make the first move. Sure enough, after circling the area for 2 rounds, the bloodthirsty tiger suddenly pounced towards Lin Muyu with a furious roar. It swung its claws repeatedly, using this severing attack that it was famous for. However, this time, it was obviously unable to sever the claws. Lin Muyu raised his palm, and the golden gourd emerged from his body to form the wall of the gourd. Kill. The dragon spirit sword was quickly unsheathed. It contained the golden power of dawn and sliced through the air. Roar. Although the bloodthirsty tiger was roaring, its roar was clearly laced with fear. It hurriedly retreated a few steps and used the steel fur on its head to block the attack. The bloodthirsty tiger's fur was extremely tough, especially for a bloodthirsty tiger that had lived for thousands of years. Ordinary swords would not be able to cut through it. However, the current Lin Muyu was no longer the same as before. The moment the dragon spirit sword touched the bloodthirsty tiger's head, he already felt that it would not be able to cut through it in one blow. However, this did not affect him. The power of dawn on the blade transformed into a ray of sword chi and shot out. Light-splitting slash. The bloodthirsty tiger howled in pain and retreated. Its head and fur were undamaged, but brain matter splattered out and flowed down its chin. Under the might of the light-splitting slash, even a 3,000-year-old spiritual beast would not be able to escape the fate of being instantly killed. Go. With Lin Muyu's order, the Acatosaurus immediately pounced over and bit through the bloodthirsty tiger's throat. After confirming that it was dead, it began to enjoy its meal. It devoured the bloodthirsty tiger's beast soul and spiritual core. In the blink of an eye, it had devoured half of the 300-kilogram bloodthirsty tiger. Its appetite was truly frightening. After eating its fill, the Acatosaurus curled up beside Lin Muyu with its mouth full of blood. It suddenly opened its mouth and let out a burp, spitting out flames that melted the surrounding snow and created a warm, dry ground. Then it curled up head to tail and slept, snoring loudly. At the same time, 3 silver lines appeared on its forehead. After devouring the bloodthirsty tiger's origin soul, the little dragon had already evolved into an 800-year-old spiritual beast. The growth rate of the holy dragon tribe was truly astonishing. Lin Muyu did not disturb its sleep. After absorbing so much spiritual energy, the Acatosaurus needed a good sleep to digest it and make it its own. Even when dawn came, there was still no sign of Tang Xiaoxi. However, the Acatosaurus was already jumping around in the snow like a little puppy. Lin Muyu was not in the mood to enjoy its fun and continued to guard the snow with a heavy heart. But at this moment, suddenly, the rumbling sound of iron chains came from the 7 Seas Pass, and the iron gate slowly opened. Have the patrols come out again? Lin Muyu thought to herself. However, it was not the patrols who came out, but a group of people in Seven Seas Province's military uniform. Moreover, there were quite a few of them, close to 2,000 people, all wearing the same armor and weapons. It seemed that the people of Seven Seas City had also received the news. Lin Muyu frowned, but found that the 2,000 people of Seven Seas City were actually coming straight for her. They were very fast and it was already too late to get on a horse to dodge. There's someone there, surround him. When Lin Muyu stood up, she was already heavily surrounded. A group of Seven Seas City soldiers looked at her with swords drawn, as if they might attack at any time. Lightly patting the badge on her shoulder and the imperial military rank on her collar, Lin Muyu said lightly, "Are your dog eyes blind? Don't you recognize these?" A centurion respectfully cupped his fists and said, "General, we recognize the military rank, but the area outside the Seven Seas Pass is originally a restricted area. May I know why you are here alone?" "I'll go wherever I want. Besides, this is the territory of North Ridge Province, not Seven Seas City. But you." Lin Muyu raised her sword-like eyebrows and shouted angrily, "The army of Seven Seas Province dares to trespass the imperial territory without the emperor's order. What crime do you deserve?" The centurion was stunned by the scolding and was speechless. At this time, the crowd of the army slowly separated, and a man wearing the armor of a senior officer rode over and said with a smile, "I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be the second of the 4 heroes of Lanyan, Lin Muyu. Tang Bin." Lin Muyu also recognized him and said, "Lin Muyu greets young master Tang Bin. No need to be so polite." Tang Bin looked at him deeply and said, "Lord Lin Muyu is now the general of the south and also the commander of the Eagle Nest camp. Why would you come to the Seven Seas Pass alone?" Lin Muyu narrowed his eyes. "I'm afraid you have to ask young master Tang Bin this question. Didn't you also bring a large group of people over?" Tang Bin revealed a sorrowful expression and said, "Yes, we have received Yu's letter early in the morning. It is unknown whether Xiaoxi is alive or dead. Grandfather is very worried about her safety, so he sent more than 2,000 warriors of the family personally led by me to the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Lin Muyu Darren, the purpose of your trip is?" Lin Muyu cupped her fists. "I entered the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi under His Majesty's imperial edict. So our purpose is the same." Tang Bin smiled slightly. "Lord, entering the dragon-seeking forest alone, one fear that something bad will happen. How about you follow us to search for Xiaoxi? How about it?" "This," Lin Muyu smiled. "I'm used to being alone, so it's better for me to be alone." "Really?" A trace of coldness flashed past Tang Bin's eyes as he said with a smile, "Xiaoxi is grandfather's most doted junior. Her life and death is related to the fate of the entire Seven Seas City, so there must not be any mistakes in this matter. I think Lord Lin Muyu Darren should come with us, otherwise if anything happens, I, Tang Bin, will not be able to explain to grandfather and His Majesty. Lord is a person who understands the circumstances, you should know what to do and what not to do, right?" At the side, the old man who was called Elder Jing, also smiled and said, "Lord Lin Muyu, let's go together. Anyway, our purpose is the same." Around them, a group of Seven Seas City guards had already revealed their ferocious looks. Under Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique, the strength of these people was clear to her. Tang Bin's cultivation had improved a lot and had already reached the peak of the first heaven of the heavenly state, while that Elder Jing was at the second heaven of the heavenly state. There were also a dozen or so people who were at the third heaven of the earth state, and many of them were not much weaker. If they really fought, Lin Muyu had almost no chance of winning. The people of Seven Seas City came in a menacing manner, and they looked like they came with ill intentions. Lin Muyu naturally knew her limits, so she nodded and said, "Then let's go together to find Xiaoxi." With that, she mounted the horse and sheathed the dragon spirit sword with a clang. She raised her hand to grab the handle of the pear blossom spear and pulled it out of the snow. Acatosaurus roared and followed closely behind. Tang Bin glanced at Acatosaurus, and a trace of astonishment flashed in his eyes, but he did not make any big movements. Although Lin Muyu was alone, it was not easy to kill him, and once he escaped, it would probably cause a big uproar when he returned to the imperial capital. Tang Bin also knew his limits. He would not make a move unless he was absolutely sure. Chapter 268. At the northern border of the dragon-seeking forest, everything was revived and the place was filled with lush greenery. Qin Yin, Feng Jixing and Chu Chu rode on their horses, followed by 2,000 imperial guards. Zhang Wei walked in front of the imperial guards with a steel saber in hand. He was the guard leader appointed by Feng Jixing for this trip. "Your Highness, We've entered the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. Chu Chu frowned. There are spirit beasts that have lived for more than 5,000 years here. I'm worried that if we go deeper, the Imperial Guards might not be able to protect themselves even if we can protect ourselves. Feng Jixing nodded. Yes, we were attacked by a dragon snake when we entered the dragon-seeking forest. Of the thousands of Imperial Guards, a few hundred were killed. The attacks of large spirit beasts are not to be underestimated. Qin Yin's face was covered by a cloak. She sighed softly. Then let them wait here or return to Lanyan City on their own. We'll continue to look for Shaoxi. Zhang Wei quickly cupped his fists. Your Highness, why are you looking down on us? As members of the Imperial Guards, we'd rather die in the dragon-seeking forest than be cowardly. Moreover, the more people we have, the greater the search area. The dragon-seeking forest is so huge that it's too difficult to find a single person. Naturally, the more the better. Qin Yin's voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. What does General Feng think? Feng Jixing's expression was calm. Pass down my order. Every 100 people in a group, bring along war drums and torches. Once we encounter a powerful spirit beast, light the torches immediately. Spirit beasts are usually afraid of fire. Also, the noise from the war drums can intimidate the spirit beasts. That's all. Don't stray too far away. Find Princess Xi as soon as possible. Yes. Zhang Wei nodded. Chu Chu took out a map scroll and glanced at it. If we go any further, we'll reach the legendary Blood Marsh. The Blood Marsh is filled with poisonous gas. Should we take a detour? Blood Marsh? Qin Yin's gaze was serene. She said faintly, order the army to station outside. Elder Chu, follow me into the blood swamp to find out what's going on. Your Highness, are you really going to enter the Blood Marsh? Yes. Qin Yin turned to look at Chu Chu and said, I have the blood of the true dragon flowing in my veins, so the poisonous gas in the Blood Marsh can't do anything to me. Chu has a sanctuary realm body, so he shouldn't be afraid of some poisonous gas. There are so many of us, but Shaoxi is alone. I don't know how she survived alone in the dragon-seeking forest. Chu, follow me in. This old one obeys. Chu Chu nodded. Feng Jixing raised his wind cutter and ordered everyone to stay where they were. Blood Qi rose up in front of them as if it was purgatory on earth. The water in the Blood Marsh was the color of blood, and it was boiling non-stop. Occasionally, some poisonous creatures like snakes and scorpions would scuttle past. It looked very frightening. Feng Jixing's cultivation was not bad, but he was still immortal in terms of resistance to poison, so he couldn't act rashly. Qin Yin got off the horse and stepped into the Blood Marsh step by step. 3 golden god-binding chains circled around her, protecting her from the invasion of any poisonous gas. Chu Chu also circulated his sanctuary realm battle energy, forming a protective wall around him to block the invasion of the poisonous gas. Looking at Qin Yin's figure in front of him, he couldn't help but sigh. It was said that the Qin clan's bloodline was inherited from the true dragon. It seemed that this was true. Ordinary people would die within half a minute after entering the Blood Marsh, but Qin Yin was safe and sound as she walked in the Blood Marsh. Jejia? In the darkness, a dark red lizard was sticking out its red tongue as it followed Qin Yin from a distance. There were 5 golden patterns on its head, and it was clearly a 5,000-year-old spirit beast. A few smaller lizards followed behind it, and they were all at least 3,000-year-old spirit beasts. The group of lizards glared at the people who had entered the blood swamp, and they looked like they were ready to attack at any time. Be careful, Your Highness. Chu Chu reminded. Qin Yin smiled faintly and said, and it's fine. She walked on the dry, blood-colored ground. Suddenly her doqi rose. With every step she took, the pale golden god-binding chains turned into ripples that spread out in all directions, carrying with it the faint sound of a divine oracle. A wave of true Dragon King's energy was contained within. Suddenly, those lizards in the distance screeched and retreated one after another. It was as if they had seen a true dragon. They shrunk back into the cave, not daring to look up again. Chu Chu clicked his tongue in wonder and looked around, saying, Your Highness, it seems like no one has been here for the time being. Let's go, staying here will only be a waste of time. Qin Yin's beautiful eyes looked around, and indeed there was no trace of Tang Xiaoxi's aura. She reached out to cover her face with her cloak and nodded, saying, and let's go. After exiting the Blood Marsh, Feng Jixing hurriedly raised his blade and walked forward, asking with concern, Your Highness, are you all right? Qin Yin smiled faintly, I'm fine, let's continue. But Your Highness, it's already night, why don't we set up camp and rest, then continue the search tomorrow morning? No. Qin Yin's gaze was unusually firm. General Feng, the longer we wait, the longer Shaoxi will be in danger. I feel a little uneasy. Shaoxi's current situation is definitely not better than ours. Yes, Your Highness. Chu Chu flipped over and mounted his horse, catching up to Qin Yin's war horse, saying, Your Highness, actually, I have something to say, but I'm not sure if I should say it. Chu Chu, go ahead. Qin Yin's voice was calm. Chu Chu nodded, cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, according to Yu's speculation and various signs, that nine-tailed fox demon is very likely to be Princess Shi, and as far as I know, the nine-tailed fox demon is very powerful. If Shaoxi has really transformed into a nine-tailed fox, then her current strength should not be inferior to mine. Let me ask, in the entire world, how many people can still hurt Shaoxi? Qin Yin's eyes flickered, and she turned to look at Chu Chu, saying, Chu, can Jin Yifan do it? Chu Chu was stunned, and he remained silent. Feng Jixing took a deep breath and said, All troops listen up, continue advancing. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed, and this was already the 4th day since Tang Xiaoxi left Lanyan City. To the northwest of the dragon-seeking forest, a majestic group of people passed through the forest, but many soldiers were lying on the backs of their horses, wailing incessantly, and blood seeped through their clothes. This was already the 7th time the army of Qihai City had encountered a spirit beast in the dragon-seeking forest, and this time, it was an 8,200-year-old sword-horn beast. After a fierce battle, the army of Qihai City lost more than 100 people, and even Elder Jing was slightly injured. Although his cultivation was not bad, he did not have the wall of a bottle gourd to protect himself like Lin Muyu. Although he could kill the spirit beast, he could not escape unscathed. From the beginning to the end, Lin Muyu maintained a wait-and-see attitude, and did not have the slightest intention of making a move, because he saw vigilance and hostility in the eyes of Tang Bin and the others. Perhaps in the eyes of many people, he, the adopted son of the emperor, was just a dog kept by the emperor. A guard rode forward and said respectfully, Young master, Yingzhao Mountain is just ahead. Yingzhao Mountain? Yes, Yingzhao Mountain got its name because of its resemblance to an ancient beast called Yingzhao. But according to the records in the dragon-seeking journal, Yingzhao Mountain is a dangerous place. Thousands of years ago, the footprints of a 10,000-year-old sacred beast were found in Yingzhao Mountain. No one has been to Yingzhao Mountain in the last 100 years. Should we go around and not enter Yingzhao Mountain? No. Tang Bin shook his head and said, Even if there is a 10,000-year-old sacred beast, we still have to enter Yingzhao Mountain. We do not know where Shaoxi is now, and we cannot let go of any possible place. Tonight we will set up camp in Yingzhao Mountain. We will leave early tomorrow morning and continue advancing eastward. Yes. Tang Bin then said, Prepare food and wine. It is chilly in the spring and we will hold a banquet in the camp tonight. We will entertain Lady Lin Muyu. Yes, I will prepare it right away. Lin Muyu smiled coldly at the side and said, Young master, you are too kind. There is no need for a banquet. I am used to starving outside, and I am already very grateful for the food you have provided me for the past 2 days. What are you saying, lady? You would rather enter the dragon-seeking forest alone to find Shaoxi. This is what I should do as a brother. Then I will not hold back. Ah, that is right. Further ahead, a lone peak stood between heaven and earth. It looked like a warhorse except that there were 2 cliffs on its back which looked like wings. This was the origin of Yingzhao Mountain. However, unlike what was described in Seeking the Dragon, there were no 10,000-year-old sacred beasts in Yingzhao Mountain. It was just a pack of wolves that were 1,000 to 2,000 years old, and they were quickly dispersed by the soldiers' torches and the clamor. They set up camp and rested. The central tent was occupied by Tang Bin, and the banquet was set up for the banquet. There were 3 tables of wine, which were used to entertain the generals who had worked hard on the journey. Lin Muyu was one of them. Tang Bin and Elder Jing were very enthusiastic in their hospitality. After drinking a lot of wine, Lin Muyu's face was already slightly red. She leaned against the side of the table, the knee pads of the holy temple armor against the legs of the table to maintain her balance. She was very drunk. General Lin? Elder Jing asked tentatively. Tang Bin also smiled and said, Lady Lin Muyu, have you drunk too much? Lin Muyu did not say anything, but she extended her spiritual pulse technique, focusing her spiritual senses between Tang Bin and Elder Jing, and even began to infiltrate their thoughts. Not long after, she heard a voice from the bottom of Tang Bin's heart, as if she was hallucinating. Could it be that this boy really has drunk too much? He's so drunk that he's like mud, it's only a matter of a single slash. Moreover, he has a close relationship with little Shi. I'll first kill this brat, then after I find little Shi, I'll secretly kill her. Presumably when I return, grandfather won't be able to blame me. Very good, but the problem is, where is little she? The nine-tailed demon fox, hee, what the hell is that? Our Tang family does not have such a monster. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart when she heard this. It seemed that her spiritual pulse technique had gradually gained the ability to read minds. For scum like Tang Bin, who was not mentally strong and had an incomplete soul, it was easy to read his mind. But that Elder Jing was different. He had a strong will, and it was almost impossible to read anything. But that was enough. Tang Bin wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi, and that was an indisputable fact. It was time to escape. If they did not leave now, they would definitely die in Yingzhou Mountain tonight. At this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were drowsy and swaying, and she smiled as she took out the dragon talisman from her bosom. Laughing loudly, she said, "Do you recognize this item?" Tang Bin and the others saw it, and many of the generals were so scared that they knelt on the ground. Dragon talisman, it is the dragon talisman. Seeing the dragon talisman was like seeing the emperor. Lin Muyu quickly stuffed the dragon talisman into her bosom and said with a smile, "It is good that you recognize it. Now I am going to relieve myself. Aha, generals, please continue drinking. There is no need to wait for me." She left the tent in a drunken state. The cold wind blew and she was immediately refreshed. She went straight to the west side of the camp. But Elder Jing's cold voice came from behind her. "General Lin, where do you think you are going? Men, catch him." How could Lin Muyu possibly turn around? She dove into the bushes and activated the falling star steps. Her entire body seemed to have transformed into a sharp ray of light as she fell into the distance. In an instant, the camp was thrown into chaos. One by one, the soldiers of Seven Seas City mounted their horses, but how could the horses catch up to Lin Muyu in the forest? In the cold wind, a figure could be seen flying over. It was Jing Lao. This Elder Jing was Tang Bin's man, not Tang Lan or Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu suddenly made up her mind. Kill. Chapter 269. Xiao. A chilling palm blade came from behind. This was Jing Lao's attack. This person cultivated the law of ice, and even his words were cold. He didn't use any weapons. Since he cultivated the profound ice technique, he could kill his opponent with his bare hands. Lin Muyu suddenly dodged to the side. She only saw a strand of frosty battle energy flying past her nose. Bang! It landed on a rock at the side and created a hole. Frost quickly condensed on the rock. This Jing Lao's cultivation was indeed not to be underestimated. Dang! Lin Muyu pulled out the dragon spirit sword. With a shake of her wrist, she slashed out a sword energy. She continued to run forward while Jing Lao was blocking the attack with his palms. This place was still very close to the camp. She had to lure Jing Lao to a farther place to finish him off. Otherwise, it would bring him unnecessary trouble. "Are you afraid?" Jing Lao laughed wildly. His battle energy enshrouded his entire body. A black berserk beast martial soul appeared on his shoulders. He chased after Lin Muyu and laughed heartily. "What a good foster son of the emperor. You're just a dog. From now on, the emperor will no longer have a foster son." Lin Muyu stopped abruptly, turned around and swung his sword again. However, he only used 70% of his strength, forcing Elder Jing to take a few steps back. However, he himself also took 7 to 8 steps back, which made him look like he was powerless. One must have good acting skills in order to survive. Lin Muyu lightly bumped into a pine tree and his body bounced back a little. With an expression of unwillingness on his face, he said, If you kill me here, someone will definitely find out. At that time, Imperial Father will definitely destroy the entire Seven Seas City to avenge me." "Ah, ridiculous." Jing Lao's face was full of contempt. He slapped again and shouted angrily, "Who do you think you are? You want to make the Emperor angry at the Seven Seas City? Dream on." However, Elder Jing felt a chill in his heart. He knew that he had to kill Lin Muyu today. Otherwise, if the matter was exposed, whether it was the Emperor or Tang Lan, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Elder Jing's palm strike was faster than the previous one, causing the battle aura armor around Lin Muyu's body to dissipate over and over again. Even the corner of Lin Muyu's mouth was bleeding. But he kept running and retreating. In the blink of an eye, he had run for nearly 5 miles, far away from the camp of Seven Seas City. Even Yingzhou Mountain was just a shadowy hill under the moonlight. At that moment, Lin Muyu suddenly turned around. Her entire temperament seemed to have changed in an instant. Her fighting chi was suddenly raised to the peak. She waved her palm gently, and the golden gourd martial spirit came out of her body. She added the shell of the tortoise and the dragon scale wall one after the other, and she slapped at Elder Jing's palm. Bang! Lin Muyu did not seem to be at a disadvantage in this attack. Elder Jing's palm landed on the wall of the gourd, causing sparks to fly. However, the recoil from the wall of the gourd made Elder Jing's arms numb. He could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Could it be that this brat had been pretending to be weak all along? Show me what you've got or you'll die very quickly. Lin Muyu smiled. The dragon spirit sword in her hand made a joyful sound, and at the same time, the 7 planets Xian energy in her arm poured into the sword. Jing Lao trembled and his whole face seemed to be twisted. He said, "You bastard." After saying that, Jing Lao's face became even more twisted. Sharp horns extended out from his shoulders, piercing through his body and dripping with blood. A horn also appeared on his head. His dou qi surged and his muscles swelled. At this moment, Jing Lao didn't look like a human at all. Instead, he looked like an evil spirit. "What's that?" Lin Muyu said lightly. Jing Lao had a mocking look on his face. "You don't even understand the beast martial souls combination realm. I've followed Master Lan to battle all over the world, and I've made many achievements. Who on this continent doesn't know my name? You ignorant person, go to hell." Jing Lao suddenly attacked with his palm, and the image of a fierce tiger appeared in his palm. He roared, "Fierce tiger descends the mountain." Fighting chi surged. This was not a simple attack. It was obvious that Jing Lao had used the combination realm and martial soul to greatly increase his cultivation. The power of this attack was no less than the 3rd heaven of the heaven realm. Lin Muyu secretly circulated her strength, and the 7 planets Xian energy crazily poured into the long sword. She suddenly grabbed the sword hilt with both hands, and attacked with the shocking thunder wild wave, chaos of the common people. Bang! Fire and frost rushed into the sky, and the surroundings were as bright as day. Jing Lao's face looked even more ferocious under the strong light. Pfft! Lin Muyu spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated a few steps. Her strength was inferior after all. However, Jing Lao was not much better. His arms were a little numb, and the chaos of the common people's Xian energy was very overbearing. Even if it couldn't hurt him, it wouldn't make him feel good. "Good lad, you're really something." Jing Lao grinned ferociously and opened his palms. Streaks of frost lingered on his arms as if they had a mind of their own. He laughed confidently and said, "You forced me to combine realm and beast, and now this is your fate. Prepare to die." Lin Muyu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and couldn't help but smile. He held the long sword with both hands again, and the golden gourd martial soul lingered around him. The wind danced wildly and his cloak fluttered. He looked like a god descending to the mortal world, mighty and awe-inspiring. This time he skipped the 2nd and 3rd luminaries. His soul power had greatly increased with his cultivation, and he could control the power of the 4th luminaries. The true dragon essence fire flowed from his arms into the long sword, and at the same time, the cry of the 4 luminaries demon and god appeared on the sword. Jing Lao roused his dou qi and suddenly put his palms together. His body speed increased and he rushed over shouting, "Die! Cold ice descends." Lin Muyu didn't say a word and brazenly slashed with his sword. True dragon essence fire, cry of the 4 luminaries demon and god. The space seemed to have been distorted by the 7 planets Xian energy, and this small space had completely become Lin Muyu's territory under the force field of the cry of the 4 luminaries demon and god. Naturally, the power of this move had greatly increased. Boom! Ice and fire collided and the momentum was monstrous. The soaring flame wave and the frost collided, and the impact caused the surrounding forest to collapse, and the gravel on the ground rolled in all directions. Ugh! Jing Lao let out a miserable howl. His opponent's Xian energy was endless, and even after exhausting the cold ice descends, he still had the strength to counterattack. Jing Lao's arms were bleeding and he was injured. B*****. How could you possibly defeat me? Jing Lao roared and like a ferocious beast, he suddenly covered the ground with his palms. Suddenly the ground started to tremble, and the frost elements in the surrounding quickly rushed into Jing Lao's body. Was he going to borrow the power of the earth's frost? Lin Muyu was slightly stunned, but he naturally had a way to deal with it. He raised his hand and sheathed his sword, and suddenly placed his left arm in front of his chest. This arm, which was remolded by the divine power of the profound spirit ruler, not only contained Xian energy, but also the vast true dragon power. Under the urging of Lin Muyu's power, his entire arm was surrounded by flames, and a golden true dragon was circling around it. At the same time he suddenly concentrated the three luminaries' calamity Shen energy, and suddenly the power of all living beings in the world seemed to be surging toward Lin Muyu. Whether it was the spiritual beasts, trees, or strange stones with spiritual power, every bit of power could be used by him. This power of borrowing the power of nature was far from what Elder Jing could compare to. Jing Lao raised his head, and when he saw Lin Muyu standing in the same place with the dragon power circling around his left arm, his whole body trembled. He lowered his head and tears suddenly flowed out of his eyes. Master Lan, I, Sima Jing, can no longer follow you to conquer the world. I wish you a peaceful life without worries. Roar. Elder Jing suddenly rushed over, and there was an inhuman roar coming from his mouth. He opened his palm and endless coldness surged out of his palm. This was the killing intent of his move. Lin Muyu looked up and suddenly exerted force under his feet. His left arm was also blasted out with the vast Shen energy of flames. Bam! The earth-shaking and mountain-shaking attacks collided with each other. Even the point where the two collided quickly spun and condensed into a barrier of fire and ice. Shwa shwa, it rapidly spun. In the next moment, Elder Jing let out a miserable howl. The veins in his arms burst open and blood splashed everywhere. It was a tragic sight to behold. Both of his arms had been crippled in an instant. I'll grant you a quick death. Lin Muyu still had some strength left. She leaped forward with her sword, and the sword light directly slashed at Elder Jing's neck. Elder Jing's eyes widened and he roared, I have battle armor to protect me. You want to kill me with this scrap of metal? The young master will be here soon. Just wait for your death, Lin Muyu. However, Lin Muyu didn't say a word, and her sword began to fall quickly. With a bang, the dragon spirit sword was unable to break the battle armor, and was directly blocked by the chi armor. But with a flash of light, the light-splitting slash penetrated the battle armor and fell directly on Elder Jing's neck. The light-splitting slash passed through the battle armor, and a huge rock behind him was forcibly cut in half. J. Elder Jing let out a beast-like howl, and the next moment, blood splattered, and his entire head turned over and fell from his neck. Lin Muyu watched indifferently as Elder Jing fell. She quickly walked forward and reached for a small spatial bag at Elder Jing's waist. She didn't even have time to check what was inside. She stuffed the bag into her clothes, sheathed her sword, and leaped more than 10 meters away, disappearing in the cold forest in the blink of an eye. The night wind was cold and only Elder Jing's corpse was left lying there. It quickly turned cold and even the blood that had spilled on the rock quickly froze. Winner takes all and loser takes all. This was the law of this world. Elder Jing and Lin Muyu both knew that since they had already laid their cards on the table, one of them had to die. Although Lin Muyu was kind, he wasn't a coward. If anyone wanted to kill him, he wouldn't hesitate to kill them first. As the young master of the Long Xian group, he wasn't a good person. Once he became ruthless, any of his opponents would probably tremble in fear. Otherwise, Lin Muyu wouldn't have been able to sit on the throne of the martial god. In the cold night, they sped through the forest with falling star steps. Awoo! The little dragon's cry came from the other space and it seemed to be acting coquettishly. Lin Muyu didn't pay attention to it. Instead of the joy of defeating Elder Jing, he was more worried about Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Under the moonlight he seemed to be all alone. Chapter 270. Amidst the sound of hooves, Tang Bin arrived with a group of heavy cavalry from Seven Seas City, only to see that a large piece of empty land in the fertile land had been turned into a battlefield. All the withered trees had been uprooted by the wind, and there were even 3 large pits in the ground. Every collision between 2 experts would leave a deep pit. Beneath a huge rock, Sima Jing's cold corpse lay there, with his head separated from his body. Ah! Tang Bin's body trembled and he got off his horse. Under the illumination of the torch, he looked at Sima Jing's corpse with a livid expression. His eyes were bloodshot as he said, "Who did this?" A young clansman said with a cold expression, "Apart from Lin Muyu, who else has the ability to kill Elder Jing here?" Moreover, Elder Jing's head was chopped off with a single slash, and the cut was very smooth. Lin Muyu is skilled with the sword, so who else could it be? Another clansman gritted his teeth and said, "Lin Muyu is a bastard. Our Seven Seas City treated him so well, but he actually repaid our kindness with enmity and killed Elder Jing. Bastard." Tang Bin's body trembled slightly, and he was completely dispirited. After losing Sima Jing, it was as if he had lost an arm. He knew Sima Jing's strength very well. Sima Jing was at the peak of the second heaven of the heaven state, but once he shape-shifted, his strength would at least be at the third heaven of the heaven state. There was no need to mention the dangers in the dragon-seeking forest. Whether they could kill the nine-tailed fox demon after losing Sima Jing was a problem. After a while he said calmly, "Bury Elder Jing on the spot." "But young master." One of the attendants said, "Elder Jing has followed Duke Lan for decades, and his military exploits are outstanding. Today he died here. Can we bring Elder Jing's body back to Seven Seas City for burial? That is his hometown." "No." Tang Bin's gaze turned cold and he said, "Our mission this time is to find Xiaoxi. Although Elder Jing has made great contributions to Seven Seas City, is he more important than Xiaoxi? Moreover, Elder Jing is a soldier, and dying in battle is a kind of final destination. Bury him and then continue searching for Xiaoxi's whereabouts." "Yes, young master." At dawn, Lin Muyu, who had been running for her life, had exhausted a lot of her energy. She suddenly threw a punch through the air. The four-dimensional energy surged and forcefully tore open a spatial crack 14 meters away. The Acatosaurus cub quickly crawled out of the spatial crack while howling. It knew that its master could only maintain the spatial crack for 10 seconds at most. It did not want to be trapped by the disappearing spatial crack. "Howl!" The little dragon ran to Lin Muyu's leg, rubbed against its owner's leg and rolled on the ground happily. Lin Muyu could not help but smile, and a warm feeling welled up in her heart. She thought about how Tang Xiaoxi loved this Acatosaurus in the hunting ground, but now she was nowhere to be found and people even called her a monster. Lin Muyu felt very sad. She hugged the Acatosaurus and sat under the tree, her body trembling slightly. After a long time, the weakened state of the falling star step disappeared. Lin Muyu immediately stood up and picked up some dry firewood to start a bonfire. At the same time she used the magic noise blade to kill a rabbit, skinned it and roasted it on a tree branch. While roasting the rabbit she took out the dimensional bag that she snatched from Elder Jing. The storage space of this dimensional bag was not big, at least, it was far less than the Qingquan bag. The things that Elder Jing collected were also very strange. They were all gold coins, diamond coins and other valuables. In addition, there were several land deeds and contracts of slavery in Seven Seas City. After taking a closer look, there were a total of 7 land deeds, which also indicated Elder Jing's wealth and status in Seven Seas City. There were 7 mansions in the third ring of the Seven Seas Province's provincial capital city, and 4 contracts of slavery. They were women aged 16, 18, 20, and 22. Although this old guy was not young, his degree of extravagance and debauchery was no less than those young nobles in the imperial capital. Lin Muyu remained silent and threw the 4 contracts of slavery into the bonfire. Once Elder Jing died, these 4 girls would regain their freedom. As long as there were no contracts of slavery, they would not need to be slaves. As for the 7 land deeds, they would all be transferred into her Qingquan bag. Perhaps one day when she really fell into dire straits, she would at least have 7 properties in Seven Seas City. Moreover, even if in the future, in the event that she married Tang Xiaoxi, it would be considered a dowry. Thinking of this, he could not help but feel distressed. Marrying Tang Xiaoxi, this sentence seems so ridiculous now. Tang Xiaoxi was a 9-tailed demon fox, a 9-tailed demon fox that was despised and feared by the world. How could he marry her? Lin Muyu curled up in the cold wind and roasted rabbit meat. No matter how strong a person's strength was, after the eruption what was left was only weakness. However, when he thought about it again, perhaps the people of this world couldn't tolerate the 9-tailed fox, but there wasn't anything he couldn't accept. The 9-tailed fox was destined to be a heavenly beauty. Moreover, little she was such a good person, so what was wrong with marrying a 9-tailed fox? However, the premise of all this was that Qin Yin could tolerate her. Lin Muyu was well aware of Qin Yin's feelings for him. At the same time he also understood that Qin Yin was the one he truly loved. It was just that there was a great disparity in their statuses. After thinking about it he slapped his forehead. What was the point of thinking so much? Perhaps in the end, neither of these 2 girls would be his. The little dragon was impatiently waiting for the rabbit meat to be roasted. It even winked at its master, indicating that it could accept rabbit meat with blood on it. However, Lin Muyu did not have the slightest intention of paying attention to it, because he could not accept rabbit meat with blood on it. If the conditions allowed it, it would affect digestion and be bad for the stomach. After the meat was roasted, this time in order to maintain her strength, Lin Muyu ate half of the rabbit. She only gave the other half to the little dragon and then let it hunt around by itself. The little dragon did not disappoint her. Not long after, it bit a wild boar to death and dragged it back. This wild boar weighed at least 200 catties, much heavier than the little dragon. It was rare that the little dragon could drag it. Moreover, the little dragon placed the wild boar carcass in front of Lin Muyu and began to talk, with its claws and fangs. Although Lin Muyu could not understand what it was saying, she could understand its intention. The little fellow was inviting her to have a meal together. No need, you can eat. Lin Muyu smiled and patted the little fellow's head. She took out a map of the dragon-seeking forest and studied it carefully. Where would Tang Xiaoxi go? After looking at the map again and again, Lin Muyu's heart suddenly lit up. In the depths of the southern jungle of the dragon-seeking forest, there was a dragon's tomb. This was the place that Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin had been to together. It was also the place that Chu Chu was guarding. Would Tang Xiaoxi go there? At the thought of this, Lin Muyu could not help but cheer in her heart. Yes, Xiaoxi must be in the dragon's tomb. She knows. If Xiao Yin and I want to find her, we will definitely go to the dragon's tomb. I'm really too stupid. I actually did not think that Xiaoxi would be in the dragon's tomb. Sai, she is in the dragon's tomb. When he looked up, he saw that most of the wild boar had already been eaten by the little dragon. He immediately patted the little dragon's head and said, "Eat quickly, we have to continue our journey after eating." After the little dragon finished eating, it was thrown into the alternate dimension. Lin Muyu immediately activated the Fallen Star Steps and traversed the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. After losing her warhorse, she could only rely on the Fallen Star Steps to travel. Moreover, if she could guess that Tang Xiaoxi would go to the dragon's tomb, others might be able to guess as well. After all, many people knew about that trip to the dragon-seeking forest. However, Lin Muyu did not know that this time, there was more than one group of people who wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi. Dragon-seeking forest, southern jungle. A group of about 500 people rode slowly through the jungle. At the front of the group was an old man dressed in light armor. He wore a cloak embroidered with a python, and on his chest was a shiny golden purple flower empire emblem. A group of people behind him also wore the emblems of the empire's soldiers. A large flag that fluttered in the wind had the word Zheng engraved on it. They were the troops of the Divine Marquis Constabulary. In the crowd, Captain Sikong Nan carried his long sword and quickly moved forward. He said, "Marquis, the messenger bird reported that the territory of a 7,200-years-old bramble wolf is in front of us. Should we go around it?" Zheng Yifan shook his head and said, "No, this old man will go and kill it in a moment." "Yes." Sikong Nan held his saber and bowed respectfully. He asked cautiously, "Marquis, if we find Tang Xiaoxi, what should we do?" "Please tell us, Marquis. Otherwise we won't know what to do." "That depends on what kind of Tang Xiaoxi it is." Zheng Yifan squinted his eyes and smiled. "What do you mean?" Sikong Nan was a boorish man and naturally did not understand the mystery. Zheng Yifan smiled faintly and said, "If it's Tang Xiaoxi in her normal form, we'll bring her back to Lanyan City and take good care of her. If it's Tang Xiaoxi in the form of the nine-tailed demon fox, we'll kill her on the spot and leave the Imperial Army's insignia behind." Sikong Nan was confused. "What do you mean? Why don't we take this opportunity to kill Tang Xiaoxi? She is Her Highness Qin Yin's best friend. If Tang Xiaoxi is alive, it is destined to be a contract between the imperial capital and the Seven Seas City." Zheng Yifan said lightly, "You only know one thing, not the other. If the Divine Marquis residence kills Tang Xiaoxi, then we will offend Tang Lan. What good will that do us? So if Tang Xiaoxi is normal, we will bring her back and Tang Lan will naturally be grateful to the Divine Marquis residence. But if Tang Xiaoxi is still a nine-tailed fox demon, then we will kill her and leave the Imperial Army emblem on her so that the Seven Seas City will know that it was Feng Jixing who killed Tang Xiaoxi. This way, the contract between the Lanyan City and the Seven Seas City will fall apart on its own. Isn't this the result we want?" Sikong Nan suddenly understood. He cupped his fists and said, "The Marquis residence is truly a man of God." Zheng Yifan's eyes dimmed as he said, "This is just wishful thinking on our part. Heaven knows what is going on now. Perhaps Tang Xiaoxi was killed by the spiritual beasts in the dragon-seeking forest, or perhaps she could not withstand the power of the nine-tailed fox demon and self-destructed. For now we can only take one step at a time. Anyway, remember, do not act rashly at any time. Also, do not clash with Her Highness Yin's army. Now is not the time." "Yes, Marquis residence." Chapter 271. After devouring the beast spirit of a 3,400-year-old wolf, a golden line appeared on the little dragon's head for the first time. It had finally stepped into the ranks of the 1,000-year spiritual beasts. Awu, the cry was still the same. The holy dragon who took the path of acting cute was really unbearable. Lin Muyu looked at the satisfied Acatosaurus on the ground and couldn't help but ask with a smile, "Little Apple, your strength has once again made a qualitative leap. Show me what is your ability now." Acatosaurus turned over and got up from the ground. Whoa. It stomped its front feet on the ground and its momentum seemed to have changed. The scales on its back stood up one by one, and actually formed a dragon armor blade. The next moment, the little dragon suddenly curled up its body, opened its mouth and bit its tail, forming a circle on the ground and rolling on the ground. The dragon armor blade could be seen crushing the grass, trees and even rocks into pieces. This was really too terrifying. Lin Muyu was shocked. Invincible? Invincible firestorm wheels? The little dragon stopped and happily nodded its head, as if it very much recognized this name. This was the second evolution of Acatosaurus. The first evolution gave it the ability Phantom Claw, and the second evolution gave it the invincible firestorm wheels. Moreover, it could be foreseen that once Acatosaurus reached adulthood and used the invincible firestorm wheels with its huge body, it would be simply a purgatory. Awu, Acatosaurus, who had just entered the second evolution, seemed to be very tired. It needed to rest. Lin Muyu was a considerate master, and immediately waved her fist to split open a space crack, letting the little dragon in to sleep and grow. After eating the last piece of meat in her hand, Lin Muyu stood up, and her whole body was filled with combat energy again. She could run all the way again. Although the Fallen Star Steps was fast and could run for about 500 miles in one go, it consumed too much of her physical strength. However, she had no choice. After all, the Dragon Tomb was too far away. Even at full speed, it would take 3 to 4 days to get there. She didn't know how Tang Xiaoxi was doing now. She hoped that she wouldn't meet a human. After all, in the form of a 9-tailed demon fox, no matter how beautiful she was, she would probably scare away a lot of people. After running for more than 500 miles, the sky darkened again and it was night again. Lin Muyu slowly slowed down. She needed to rest for a while. Her physical strength and combat energy were about to be exhausted, and her legs felt like they were filled with lead. She couldn't run anymore. However, just when she stopped, she suddenly heard the sound of hooves from afar. After a few seconds, a group of people appeared in her field of vision. It was a group of wandering mercenaries and there were about 50 of them. Although they were dressed like mercenaries, their armor was brand new, and their weapons were excellent. The horses they were riding on were also very sturdy. They didn't look like mercenaries at all. Not good. Lin Muyu didn't have time to dodge and she was already in the sight of the mercenaries. The most frightening thing was that she couldn't move her legs anymore. The terrifying state of the Fallen Star Steps had come, and her entire body's combat energy and physical strength had entered a state of exhaustion. She needed at least half an hour to recover. "There's someone there." A group of mercenaries suddenly pointed their weapons at Lin Muyu and shouted, "Catch him!" They had horses so they definitely couldn't run away. Lin Muyu stopped running. She held the dragon spirit sword in her hand and smiled as she looked at the group of people rushing up the hill and surrounding her. Her eyes were filled with confidence and arrogance as she said, "What do you want?" The mercenary in the lead was a man with a long beard. He was very sturdy, and he held a heavy battle axe in his hand. Moreover, this axe had a faint hint of soul refining in it. It was a mysterious rank axe, and although this man tried his best to hide his cultivation, Lin Muyu could still sense the surging combat energy in his body with the spirit pulse technique. The other dozens of mercenaries were also not ordinary people. Most of them were people with Earth Realm cultivation. This group of people was definitely not as simple as wandering mercenaries. Lin Muyu felt a chill from the bottom of her heart. She secretly lamented that her luck was too bad. The mercenary in the lead lowered his axe and came to Lin Muyu's side. He spurred his horse around and smiled. "This armor is not bad. If I'm not wrong, this is the attire of the Holy Temple in the capital. I wonder, who are you in the Holy Temple? You actually have a golden badge and the rank of Chili Arch." They came with ill intentions. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said in an imposing manner that did not lose to her opponent, "I'm Ma Lin, a gold star instructor of the Holy Temple. I entered the dragon-seeking forest to cultivate by myself this time. Who are you?" The man laughed and lifted the battle axe on his shoulder. He said, "I'm Li Jingzi, the leader of the Violet Mercenary Group, in Lanyan City. Lord Holy Temple, since we've met here, why don't we have a drink or two? Since it's getting cold, why don't you set up camp with us?" Lin Muyu's gaze was indifferent. "You want to rob someone from the Holy Temple? No, we don't have the guts. Li Jingxi laughed and said, "You're too cautious, Lord. We, the Violet Mercenary Group, are all heroes who fight for justice. Someone give this lord a horse and help him carry a weapon." "Yes." A mercenary led a skinny horse over and stretched out his hand. "Lord, may I help you carry a weapon?" Lin Muyu scanned the group of people with clear eyes. She noticed that many of them were injured. There was even a person at the back with a broken arm. Even the strongest person in the group, Li Jingxi, was injured. Although he was wearing a battle knee brace made of cowhide, blood was seeping out of his gray pants. Seeing this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. The reason why these people didn't make a move now was probably because they didn't have full confidence. After all, none of the gold stars in the Holy Temple were easy to deal with. She could not lose her momentum. She was also at the end of her rope and needed time to rest. At this time she could only rely on her momentum to find a chance to survive. She raised her hand and handed the Dragon Soul Sword to the mercenary. "Take care of it." "Yes, Lord." Mounting the horse, Lin Muyu fastened her cloak and said, "Where are you going to camp today, Commander Li? From the looks of it, you must have just killed a powerful spirit beast?" Li Jingxi knew he could not deceive her. He nodded and said, "Yes, we met a 6,400-year-old bear of earth on the way. I lost dozens of men to injure it, but the bear of earth still left with heavy injuries." "If that's the case." An idea came to Lin Muyu and she smiled. "Then we'll rest for the night. Tomorrow we'll find this bear of earth." Li Jingxi was taken aback. "Lord, aren't you afraid of a 6,400-year-old spirit beast? What's there to be afraid of about a mere beast?" Lin Muyu's momentum was astonishing. She smiled and said, "We'll find the bear of earth's lair tomorrow. All you need to do is watch." "Good, that's great." With a faint smile on her face, Lin Muyu continued to ask, "I wonder, why did Commander Li bring your mercenary brothers so deep into the dragon-seeking forest? There shouldn't be anything you want here. If it was a mercenary mission you wouldn't have to go so deep." Li Jingxi was taken aback. He was stumped by Lin Muyu's question. He scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. "I'm ashamed to say this. We originally planned to go to Seven Seas City, but we got lost in the dragon-seeking forest." Lin Muyu thought to herself, "Who are you trying to fool? Seven Seas City is north of the imperial capital. This place is almost south of the imperial capital. Even if you got lost, you wouldn't get lost to such an absurd extent, right?" However, he didn't expose her. After all, he was living under someone else's roof. He was relying on his momentum to support himself. If the opponent were to make things difficult for him, he wouldn't have it easy either. His body glowed with a faint golden light. The golden gourd martial spirit was slowly absorbing the spirit qi between heaven and earth to replenish his consumed do qi. At the same time, his stamina was recovering. When Li Jingxi and the others found a cliff to set up camp, Lin Muyu's do qi and stamina had completely recovered. However, she wasn't in a hurry to make a move. She had to figure out who this group of people were first. 4 bonfires were lit under the cliff. The group surrounded the bonfires and began to cook soup. The accompanying warhorses carried some spirit beast corpses on their backs. They cut off the meat and cooked the soup. Not long after, the aroma filled the air. There was even a deer roasting on one of the bonfires. This group of people's lives were too extravagant. Not long after, Li Jingxi brought over a large jar of wine. He smiled and said, "Sir Ma Lin, it's warm and cold. Drink to warm your body. Let's drink until we're drunk." Alright. Drinking was good. When a person was drunk, they would be the most relaxed. This was the best time for Lin Muyu to use the mind-reading ability derived from the spirit pulse technique to find out what these people were thinking. Soon everyone was already drunk. However, Li Jingxi didn't drink much. He spat out most of the wine into the towel that he used to wipe his mouth. He was really a wine expert. Lin Muyu smiled silently. She slowly extended the spirit pulse technique and seeped into Li Jingxi's eye. Soon she heard a voice saying, "I really can't see the depth of this brat's cultivation. Damn it, we've been ordered to hunt down Tang Xiaoxi. I don't know if we'll succeed. Once we get this brat drunk, we'll kill him. We can't let this bullsh *T Ma Lin ruin our mission." However, what exactly was the mission? He refused to say it no matter what. Lin Muyu was a little anxious. After waiting for a while, she finally read Li Jingxi's eye again. "Is Tang Xiaoxi really that important? Seriously, Her Highness gave us this kind of mission. We don't have many people lurking in the capital. We haven't even seen Tang Xiaoxi and we've already lost so many people. She even told us to be careful and not ruin Shinho's plan. Damn it. After we finish the mission, It's time to ask Her Highness to send more people to us. She also needs to reward us more. Heh. Who was this Her Highness? Lin Muyu frowned. Could it be that this group of people was sent by Qinin? That couldn't be right. If Qinin really sent more people, she would have come herself. Where did this group of people come from? However, he didn't have time to continue reading Li Jingxi's mind. After a look from Li Jingxi, 4 mercenaries had already surrounded them. Each of them had their hands on the hilt of their swords. They didn't come with good intentions. Li Jingxi had unleashed an attack imbued with his scorching battle qi, and Lin Muyu shuddered involuntarily. At the same time, the walls of the gourd finally shattered, and the sharp arrows bounced off her suit of battle armor. Lin Muyu had killed over a dozen people in the blink of an eye, but she had also expended over half of her battle qi. His suit of battle armor quickly dissipated, and he was at a huge disadvantage in a one-on-one battle. Puff, puff! In the instant that his battle armor had shattered, he had been struck by 2 arrows on his back. Even though the arrows had only pierced a few centimeters into his flesh through his suit of battle armor, it was still an excruciating pain that reduced his strength by at least 30%. To catch bandits, first catch their leader. Lin Muyu rushed toward Li Jingxi and raised her hand to unleash a punch. Chaos of the Lives. Lin Muyu's strength was already above Li Jingxi's, and she also had the 7 luminaries' profound energy. She instantly shattered Li Jingxi's sword, and the dragon spirit sword swept past, slicing the battle axe that Li Jingxi had just raised in half. Her punch still landed squarely on Li Jingxi's chest, and the sound of ribs breaking could be heard clearly. Ugh! Li Jingxi threw up a mouthful of blood, and there was no way he could struggle. Lin Muyu grabbed him with one hand, and she leaped onto a fine horse. She then slashed the reins and spurred the horse away. Behind them, a group of mercenaries also mounted their horses and chased after them. Lin Muyu put Li Jingxi on the horse's back, turned around and unleashed a demonic sound fist. Immediately, a mercenary groaned and fell to the ground, killed on the spot. In the end, Lin Muyu spun around 3 times, and 3 mercenaries with high cultivation bases were killed by the demonic sonic fists imbued with battle energy. Li Jingxi, who was on horseback, spat out a mouthful of blood as he shouted, "Stop chasing, let's hurry back to the imperial capital and report to the special envoy. The person who killed me is Lin Muyu." The group of mercenaries turned around and left without hesitation. Lin Muyu was also worried that they would chase after them, so she brought Li Jingxi and ran for dozens of miles before stopping. She lifted him up and threw him under an ancient tree. She said coldly, "Tell me, who are you people?" Li Jingxi's mouth was full of blood and he laughed loudly. "I actually didn't recognize that you were Lin Muyu, I admit it. But you want to get anything out of me? Dream on." Lin Muyu suddenly pressed the dragon spirit sword against his neck and said coldly, "Are you going to tell me or not?" Li Jingxi gritted his teeth and forcefully pushed his body forward. With a piu sound, the sharp dragon spirit sword directly pierced through his throat. Lin Muyu's eyes were indifferent. If he died, then he died. This kind of person's death was not to be regretted, but it was a pity that she didn't get anything out of him. She didn't know where these mercenaries came from. They looked like people from the army, but who in the Empire's army would make a move against an instructor from the Golden Star Temple? Could it be that this group of people were from the Divine Might Battalion? It didn't seem like it. Most of the soldiers from the Divine Might Battalion used long blades, and they used the military blade technique passed down by Xiang Wenyan, wind blade technique. But this group of people mostly used swords, and their sword techniques were very strange and tricky. After searching Li Jingxi's corpse, she didn't find anything. This group of people seemed to have done a very good job in keeping secrets. If it wasn't for the mind-reading ability of the spirit pulse technique, she probably wouldn't even be able to find any clues. She rested beside Li Jingxi's corpse for a while, but she accidentally fell asleep. When Lin Muyu woke up, it was already dawn. It was another new day. After eating, she quickly galloped towards the southern forest. The dragon's tomb was getting closer and closer. In about a day she would arrive there, but she didn't know what kind of things she would encounter. In the southwest direction of the dragon-seeking forest, the sound of hooves galloping could be heard. Tang Bin led over 1,007 Sea City soldiers and galloped forward. After being attacked by spirit beasts 3 more times, the number of people in 7 Seas City was greatly reduced, and there were less than 1,200 people left. Although Tang Bin was furious, there was nothing he could do. There were many powerful spirit beasts in the dragon-seeking forest, and if humans accidentally stepped into the territory of these spirit beasts, they would be attacked. After all, spirit beasts also understood the importance of territory. Those who dared to enter their territory were either enemies or food. There was no third possibility. After Elder Jing died, Tang Bin had been deeply worried. While speeding up the march, he was also worried about what kind of spirit beasts they would encounter next. And these Tang sect soldiers who came from Seven Seas City were already exhausted. The appearance of spirit beasts made them exhausted. Moreover, they didn't know where Tang Xiaoxi was at all. This trip didn't seem like they were looking for someone, but more like they were looking for death in the dragon-seeking forest. This dragon-seeking forest probably hadn't been this lively for several hundred years. It was simply like a feast for the long-lived spirit beasts. Not long after, a scout galloped over and said respectfully, "Young master, we found a group of people in front of us. They came from Lanyan City." "People from the imperial capital?" Tang Bin raised his eyebrows. "Is it the imperial army or the imperial army?" "Neither, it's the Divine Might Battalion's army. It seems that Divine Marquis Zheng Yifan is also among them." "Zheng Yifan is here too?" Tang Bin nodded and muttered, "Is Zheng Yifan here to find Xiaoxi or to kill Xiaoxi?" The scout shook his head. "I don't know." "How many people do they have?" "About 400 people, not too many. They're already here. Young master, we can't hide anymore." "Is that so?" Tang Bin waved his hand and said, "Everyone be on guard, prepare for battle." "Yes." The group of Tang sect soldiers unsheathed their weapons one after another. Behind them, many people took out longbows from the backs of their horses. If this was a real battle, the cavalry might not be as useful as the archers. After all, this wasn't an open field, and the warhorses couldn't increase their speed to the speed of a charge. Moreover, it was inconvenient for them to move around, so it was better to abandon their horses and use bows instead. This group of people were the elites of the Tang sect army. Naturally, they were very skilled in horsemanship, archery, and swordsmanship. Not long after, a group of people slowly approached from afar. They were carrying the flag of the Divine Might Battalion, and Zheng Yifan was at the front of the group. He rode over on his horse and smiled. "I was wondering who it was. So it's the young master of the Tang family." Tang Bin also smiled and said respectfully, "So it's the Marquis. I wonder, is the Divine Might Battalion also searching for Xiaoxi's whereabouts in the Dragon Forest?" Zheng Yifan nodded. "The nine-tailed demon fox kidnapped Princess Xi. His Majesty is anxious, so he ordered me to lead the Divine Might Battalion into the Dragon Forest to search for Princess Xi. Young Master Tang Bin, please don't be impatient. Princess Xi is blessed by the heavens, so she'll definitely be fine." Tang Bin smiled. "Thank you for your kind words, Marquis. Do you know where Xiaoxi is? Or, where did the nine-tailed demon fox kidnap Xiaoxi?" Zheng Yifan stroked his beard and said, "Princess Xi once went to the Dragon Tomb in the south of the dragon-seeking forest with Her Highness Yin for an adventure. If I'm not mistaken, Princess Xi might be in the Dragon Tomb now." "I see," Tang Bin frowned and said, "Then please lead the way, Marquis. We'll go to the Dragon Tomb together. At least we can look after each other." "That's fine." Zheng Yifan nodded. "If we stay together, we can better deal with the unknown spiritual beasts in the Dragon Forest. However, I've already lost a lot of troops, but young master still has more than 1,000 troops. Why don't young master clear the path in front?" "What a cunning old fox." Tang Bin cursed in his heart. He gritted his teeth and said, "Why don't we do it this way? Let's go side by side. What do you think?" "That's good too. Maybe we'll be able to find Princess Xi earlier this way." Dragon-shaped Valley was a valley in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. There were hunters in the valley who made a living by hunting small wild beasts. This place was filled with outstanding people and was surrounded by cliffs. Only a small path in the valley could lead people in and out of the valley, creating a beautiful scene of paradise. Even though this valley was located in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest, the hunters in the valley were safe and sound. In a simple and crude courtyard, a rustling sound came from a fence made of bamboo branches. Clothes that were being hung to dry slid off the bamboo poles with a shwa-shwa sound. Inside the fence, a beautiful young girl was lying on the ground. Her skin was as white as snow and her figure was graceful. However, the 9 slightly swaying fiery red tails behind her looked exceptionally bewitching. She quickly put on a long dress, but unfortunately, the tails behind her were swaying unwillingly inside her clothes. This made her a little speechless and she could not help but smile faintly. However, at this moment, a child about 3 or 4 years old stood outside and asked in a tender voice, "Excuse me, are you a thief? Why did you steal mother's clothes?" The young girl stared at him in shock. Suddenly, she leaped out of the fence and disappeared into the forest after a few leaps. Chapter 273. The cold wind blew through the forest. It was early in the morning and they were only 300 miles away from the dragon's tomb. With the speed of the heavy cavalry, they could reach the dragon's tomb before nightfall. However, the journey was full of hardships and everyone seemed to be exhausted. Many of the soldiers were even infected with diseases, causing their combat power to decrease sharply. Zheng Yifan frowned and gripped the reins tightly. He glanced to the right and saw Tang Bin approaching on horseback. He cupped his fists and smiled. Divine Marquis, many of the soldiers in the Divine Might Battalion are infected with diseases. In my opinion. Divine Marquis, why don't we set up camp here and let the soldiers gather information? As for the scouting ahead, let's leave it to the soldiers of Qihai City. What do you think? This? Zheng Yifan hesitated for a moment, then said, this is already the deepest part of the dragon-seeking forest. It's not like the outskirts, where there are many 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts. Young master, please think thrice before you act. This old man may be old, but I can still lend young master a hand. Tang Bin, on the other hand, had a different idea in his mind. He wanted to be the first to enter the dragon's tomb to find Tang Xiaoxi. If it was Tang Xiaoxi in her nine-tailed demon fox form, then he would kill her on the spot. Naturally, the fewer people who knew about this, the better. The elites of Seven Seas City that accompanied him were all his trusted aides. However, if Zheng Yifan knew about this, then it would be equivalent to giving him a handle. This was something Tang Bin absolutely did not want to see. Tang Bin cupped his fists and smiled. Thank you for your kindness, Divine Marquis. However, I'm leading the elites of Qihai City. I believe that even if we encounter a 10,000-year spiritual beast, we will be able to escape safely. The most important thing is to find Xiaoxi as soon as possible. If that's the case, I won't say anything more. Zheng Yifan pondered for a moment. But what? Tang Bin asked. Zheng Yifan smiled and said, however, this old man had once trained in this area about 10 years ago. There are two roads leading to the dragon's tomb from here. One is the Loxi Valley and the other is the Green Summit Ridge. This old man suggests that young master take the Green Summit Ridge. That place is only occupied by a group of swift wolves. As for the Loxi Valley, this old man has personally seen a flaming ironback bear that has lived there for more than 10,000 years. Thank you, Divine Marquis, I understand then. Tang Bin turned his horse around and smiled. Our Seven Seas City will depart first. Divine Marquis, Divine Might Battalion, please bring up the rear. Of course, young master, please be careful. Thank you, you too. Tang Bin rode his horse back to the Seven Seas City camp, loudly ordering, full speed ahead. The sound of horse hooves thundered, and the more than 1,000 people of Seven Seas City began to run, disappearing into the depths of the forest in the blink of an eye. Zheng Yifan squinted his eyes and looked into the distance, smiling, have a safe journey, young master. Sikong Nan smiled faintly, Marquis has pointed out a path for young master Tang, but I don't know if they're willing to take it, but… Marquis, was that ironback bear that was more than 10,000 years old made up by you to deceive that kid Tang Bin? Zheng Yifan lightly waved his robe sleeves and lightly said, when have you ever seen me, Zheng Yifan, deceive anyone? Sikong Nan was stunned, but his heart was in turmoil. He thought to himself, perhaps this is the legendary, the art of war is deceitful? Among the constantly galloping cavalry, Tang Hao, a Tang family clansman whose strength was second only to Tang Bin, carried a broadsword, his face full of caution as he asked, young master, Zheng Yifan suggested that we go through the Green Summit Ridge, which path do you think we should take? Tang Bin squinted his eyes, Zheng Yifan, that old fox, since he pointed out that there is a 10,000-year-old ironback bear in the Loxi Valley, I don't believe him and insist on going through the Loxi Valley. The art of war is deceitful, the truth is false, the falsehood is true. This Zheng Yifan's words cannot be trusted, but we must also believe him. Both the Green Summit Ridge and the Loxi Valley may be occupied by 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts. Tell everyone to be careful and send scouts to scout ahead. This subordinate understands. Tang Hao lowered his broadsword, rays of Do Qi appeared on the blade. He was a powerhouse who had just stepped into the first level of the Heaven Realm. Although he was over 40 years old, he was highly valued and was also the person closest to Tang Bin in the family. Now that Elder Jing was dead, Tang Hao had become Tang Bin's most trusted general. Young master, Tang Hao suddenly wanted to say something but stopped. Uncle Hao, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? Tang Bin asked in surprise. Tang Hao's eyes flickered as he looked at the grass that kept retreating under the hooves of the horses and said, "Young master, Xiao Shi is your biological cousin. Can we consider not killing Xiao Shi, as long as she agrees not to fight with you for the inheritance of Seven Seas City?" "Ah, this matter?" Tang Bin laughed. "Uncle Hao, I know that you watched me and Xiao Shi grow up together and have feelings for us, so I won't make things difficult for you. As long as Xiao Yin isn't a nine-tailed demon fox, I won't do anything to her. After all, I've loved this little sister very much since I was young. This is something that Uncle Hao can also see." "Then what if Xiao Shi is a nine-tailed demon fox? Those who are not of our clan must have a different heart." Killing intent flashed across Tang Bin's eyes as he said, "This can only mean that she's not a member of our Tang family. Since she's not a member of the Tang family, then just kill her." Tang Hao sighed. "Yes, this subordinate will obey young master's orders." Tang Bin and Tang Xiaoxi were both direct descendants of Tang Lan, while Tang Hao was a direct descendant of Duke Lan's elder brother. It was precisely because of this that he didn't have a very high status in the clan. At the very least, he couldn't be compared to Tang Bin, Tang Lu, Tang Wei and Tang Xiaoxi. To be able to become a personal attendant was already a great fortune. Those with low cultivation could only be reduced to maids or attendants. Luxia Valley. Spring was warm and flowers were in full bloom. The entire mountain was blooming with white flowers. 4 light cavalry scouts passed through the Luxia Valley. Both sides of the valley were filled with winding paths. It was impossible to see if there were any ambushes. They had no choice but to use their spears to randomly stab the grass. Every so often, a few poisonous snakes would jump out with a piu 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 sound. However, for cultivators, poisonous snakes were simply child's play. They were only afraid of 1,000-year or 10,000-year poisonous snakes like the dragon snake. The length of the Luxia Valley was less than a mile. After a round trip, the scouts all came out of the valley and reported to Tang Bin, "Young master, there are only a few poisonous snakes in the Luxia Valley. There's nothing wrong with it." Tang Bin nodded and laughed. Zhi Yifan thinks he can scare me. He's simply dreaming. Let's go through the Luxia Valley. We must reach the dragon's tomb before dusk." "Yes." Tang Bin, Tang Hao and the rest of the Tang family entered the Luxia Valley. The sound of 1,200 heavy cavalry's hooves shook the entire valley. Obviously, this kind of power was not something the 4 light cavalry scouts could compare to. At this time, in one of the caves of the Lok Valley, a gigantic creature slowly woke up from its slumber after being jolted by the hooves of the heavy cavalry. It opened its fiery red eyes and patted its flat abdomen. There wasn't a lot of food throughout the winter, and it had been starving for many days. It seemed like it was welcoming another delicious meal. Roar! The flaming ironback bear's roar echoed in the valley. In the next moment, this big guy that was at least 3 meters tall suddenly jumped out of the cave. Its sharp claws pounced on a huge rock. Its entire body was enshrouded in raging flames. It stared at the group of people passing through the valley a few meters away. Without saying a word, it pounced down and bit the head of a 7 Seas City heavy cavalry. After spitting out the helmet, it began to chew vigorously. At the same time, it swept its palms across and cut open the stomachs of 2 other heavy cavalry. "Beast!" A Tang family member at the 3rd layer of the Earth realm roared angrily. He raised his iron spear and charged over. His arm trembled and a spear light shot out. The tip of the spear went straight for the flaming ironback bear's eyes. Unfortunately, this flaming ironback bear had a total of 11 golden lines and 4 silver lines on its forehead. This was a 10,000-year ferocious beast. The invisible flames around its eyes directly shattered the iron spear. In a rage, the ironback bear pounced forward. Its sharp claws were astonishingly fast, and it suddenly swept diagonally. The wind from its claws was scorching hot, and it actually directly tore the Earth Realm 3rd layer clansman into 2 halves. His body was a bloody mess and he didn't even have time to scream. Everyone was dumbfounded. At this time, Tang Bin, Tang Hao and the rest had also returned. Looking at the surrounded ironback bear, they gritted their teeth and shouted, "Bows, arrows, spears, do your best to distance yourself. We'll be able to kill this 10,000-year ferocious beast once we break its ferocious chi." As he said that, Tang Bin opened his arms, and the firefox martial soul darted around his shoulders. A firefox seal broke through the air. Pung! Star sacrificial seal. The firefox seal smashed heavily into the ironback bear's forehead, but it only sent out powerful flames and fragments of ferocious chi. It didn't really hurt the ironback bear. Instead, the ironback bear charged forward ferociously, and with its claws and bites, it killed a few more spear-wielding soldiers. Arrows fell like rain from all directions, but how could they break the ferocious chi of a 10,000-year ferocious beast? Tang Bin kept a distance from the ironback bear, and he used the fire fox seal again and again. He was the only expert at the peak of the first layer of the heaven realm, and also the only person who had cultivated the fire fox seal to the 7th layer. The 5 chi seals in his hands spun rapidly, and they bombarded the ironback bear's head. Finally, after nearly 100 people were killed or injured, the ferocious chi of the ironback bear was broken. Spears, bows and arrows. Tang Hao ordered loudly, but the ironback bear was a spirit beast race known for its defense. Its fur was as hard as iron, and it actually broke the spears in half. As for the arrows, they couldn't even hurt it in the slightest. On the other hand, the attacks of the crowd made the ironback bear almost go berserk. Its body was covered in flames, and it charged back and forth among the crowd. In less than 20 minutes, the 1,200 Tang clan soldiers led by Tang Bin had been killed by the ironback bear, and only less than 400 people were left. The valley was filled with broken limbs and bodies, and the ironback bear had launched a few flame attacks, burning quite a few people into a pile of ashes. The scene was simply too horrible to look at. The ironback bear had paid a heavy price as well. Its entire body was covered in blood, and its iron-like skin was lacerated. More than a dozen arrows had pierced through its eyes. It was only relying on the aura of a human to kill its prey. On the peak of the Wuxia Valley, a handsome young man lay quietly on top of a green rock. He was just sensing the battle in the valley with his spirit sense. Who else could it be other than Lin Muyu? Chapter 274. Tang Bin had his own ulterior motives and had long wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi, so Lin Muyu naturally wouldn't help him. He wished that this flaming ironback bear could live up to his expectations and kill all of Tang Bin's men. Unfortunately, even though the flaming ironback bear was a 10,000-year-old spiritual beast, it couldn't withstand a battle of attrition. After about 30 minutes, this 10,000-year-old spiritual beast that had lived in the Lok Valley for thousands of years finally reached the end of its life. Its body was riddled with holes as it howled miserably, crushing countless little white flowers. Perhaps it wasn't an exaggeration because it was already dyed red with blood. The entire Lok Valley was filled with corpses, and the cries of the injured were endless. Lin Muyu quietly watched everything that happened in front of her from the top of a huge rock. She suddenly leaped up and left the Lok Valley after a few lightning bolts. She had to reach the dragon's tomb as soon as possible. It was just a coincidence that she met Tang Bin's group here, so there was no need to follow them. In the valley there were broken limbs and bodies everywhere, and the injured were constantly howling. Tang Bin carried his blood-stained sword and walked among the crowd. His gaze was cold as he muttered, We still fell for that old fox Zhen Yifun's tricks. Tang Hao said helplessly, moreover we can't even talk about it. Even if we reason with him, we'll only become a laughingstock. Tang Bin clenched his teeth. One day this old fox will pay for his cunning today. Yes. Tang Bin stepped on the ironback bear's corpse and pierced his sword into its skull, digging out the 1,100-year-old ironback bear's spiritual stone. Suddenly, a warm energy flowed into his palm. This was a fire-type spiritual stone, and it was one of the more precious spiritual stones of various attributes. The fire-type spiritual stone's power was surging, and its fire-type attack was also relatively high, so it was the favorite of most cultivators. Tang Bin silently put the spiritual stone in his pocket, then looked around and said, Those who can get on the horses, get on them immediately. We'll leave this place and leave a small number of people to take care of the injured. The smell of blood will only attract stronger spiritual beasts to hunt us down. The injured will return to 7 Sea City, and the rest will follow me to the dragon's tomb. Tang Hao was stunned. Young master. If the injured move alone, I'm afraid they'll all be killed if they encounter any spiritual beasts. Are we really going to abandon the injured? Uncle Hao. Tang Bin turned around and coldly looked at him, saying, Xiaoxi is a descendant of the Tang family who possesses the Fire Fox martial spirit. Moreover, she has already refined the Fire Fox seal. Xiaoxi's life is more important than the lives of 1,000 ordinary family servants. You should understand this, right? Tang Hao nodded silently. Yes. After regrouping, about 150 members of the Tang clan mounted their horses and quickly left the Wuxia Valley. As for the nearly 300 injured people who were left behind, the only fate that awaited them was death. The Wuxia Valley was located in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. Spiritual beasts that were over 5,000 years old could be found everywhere in the surroundings. There was no way for them to leave. The dragon's tomb was the place where the ancient dragons buried themselves. The dragon clan was the closest existence to the gods, and they were also one of the few spiritual beasts that possessed high intelligence. When every dragon felt that their life had come to an end, most would choose to come to the dragon's tomb to quietly sleep and die. This was the most peaceful way for them to leave. That was why the dragon's tomb was located in the deepest part of the dragon-seeking forest. Right now there were piles of dragon bones everywhere. There were low-level dragons and there were also spiritual dragons. However, these piles of bones were left on the ground, and later generations had no way of telling how glorious the owners of these bones were when they were still alive. Lin Muyu spurred his horse past, holding the dragon spirit sword in his hand. He silently took out a bottle of spirit concentration elixir and drank it. This way he could resist the miasma in the dragon's tomb without using his fighting energy. When he arrived at the periphery of the dragon's tomb, he tied his horse outside the forest and walked into the forest with his sword in hand. In the distance, the piles of dragon bones glowed with a faint golden light under the setting sun. Lin Muyu stepped into the dragon's tomb step by step. He quickly extended his spirit pulse technique to search for auras and living beings in the dragon's tomb. However, what troubled him the most was that the spiritual energy in the dragon's tomb was too strong. Furthermore, the piles of dragon bones also contained dragon power, which greatly interfered with the searching effect of the spirit pulse technique. As a result, the spirit pulse technique was practically useless in a place like this. Xiaoxi, where the hell are you? He frowned and his cloak, which was stained with blood, fluttered gently in the night wind. He walked alone in the dragon's tomb as if he was a visitor from afar, admiring the majesty of the dragon clan. At this moment, in the north of the dragon's tomb, the team led by Qin Yin, Chu Chu, and Feng Jixing was moving forward slowly. The dragon's tomb is about 200 kilometers away. Chu Chu frowned and asked, "Your Highness, are you sure you want to enter the dragon's tomb?" In the night wind, Qin Yin's beautiful hair was a little messy, and her face was filled with fatigue. She was too tired. She only slept for about 4 hours a day after circling around the dragon forest. Although Feng Jixing, Chu Chu, and the others suggested that they set up camp and rest at night, Qin Yin insisted on continuing the search. Fortunately, there was Chu Chu, a sanctuary powerhouse, and Feng Jixing's method of making noise and scaring them, so the strength of the team was very intact. "Chu, we must find Xiaoxi," Qin Yin bit her rosy lips and murmured, Xiaoxi has never needed me as much as she needs me now. I can't abandon her. Even if I lose my life in the dragon forest, I won't regret it." "Your Highness," Chu Chu wanted to say something but stopped. "Chu, just say what you want to say." "It's fine," Qin Yin said softly. Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, "Forgive me for being blunt, but the awakening of the nine-tailed fox demon in Princess Xi's body is a very unexpected thing. It's enough for your Highness to lead us to this place. To be frank, your Highness's life is much more important than Princess Xi's. Your life concerns the rise and fall of this mainland and the fate of the people in the world. Are you really willing to disregard the world for Tang Xiaoxi?" Qin Yin suddenly stopped her horse in shock and stood there, her beautiful eyes filled with tears. After a long time, she lowered her head and rubbed away the tears in her eyes. She smiled and said, "The people in the world are important, but so is Xiaoxi. I'll treat it as Qin Yin being willful for once. This time, if I don't find Xiaoxi, I won't leave Lanyan City." Chu Chu nodded in pain. "Yes, your Highness. I will follow your Highness." Feng Jixing held his wind cutter and pretended not to hear these words, but his eyes were full of praise. Perhaps only this kind of Qin Yin was worthy of his following. Dragon's tomb, it was the dragon's tomb again. Everyone had finally arrived here. At dusk, Tang Bin led 150 Tang clansmen to the periphery of the dragon's tomb. They rode in directly. Tang Hao was experienced and sniffed the air. He said, "There's miasma here. Everyone protect yourselves. Tie the horses outside the forest. Don't let them die in the miasma. Otherwise our return time will be several times longer." Tang Bin nodded. "Yes." Just as they were tying the horses, a clansman suddenly pointed at a horse in the distance and said, That's Tang Ning's horse. Gosh, that demon Lin Muyu has also entered the dragon's tomb." Tang Bin's face was full of killing intent. "Let's go. This will be even easier. We'll take care of Lin Muyu while we're at it. Men, put poison arrows on your bows. If there's a chance, just call out." The group of clansmen nodded. Tang Bin also wanted to kill. Otherwise he wouldn't be willing to use poison arrows. Although the Seven Sea City's poison was not unparalleled in the world, it could be considered famous. Fire foxes were originally a type of vicious beast, so the Tang clan was proficient in refining fire poison. Smearing fire poison on the arrowheads could cause the fire poison to attack the heart in a short period of time. If it was light, they would be unable to take care of themselves. If it was heavy, they would bleed from all 7 orifices and die. A large group of people entered the dragon's tomb in a grandiose manner. One by one they summoned their martial spirits. However, most of them were not firefox martial spirits. There were many types of martial spirits. In the entire Seven Seas Tang sect, there were only a few people who had comprehended the firefox martial spirit. Tang Bin and Tang Xiaoxi were the best among them. It was also because of this that they were valued and doted on by Tang Lan. Tang Hao held a broadsword in his hand and calmly walked among the crowd. He raised his battle chi to resist the invasion of the miasma. He knew that the battle after entering the dragon's tomb would not be easy. His heart was in a mess and he didn't know what to do. At this time, Lin Muyu couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi after searching around. He could only light a bonfire and roast some cooked food to replenish his strength. Otherwise, if a strong enemy came, they wouldn't give him any time to eat. After eating half of the deer's leg, he patted his abdomen and felt very satisfied. The little dragon crouched beside him and ate the remaining half of the deer's leg. After that, it returned to the alternate space to sleep in satisfaction. In the blink of an eye, night fell. Lin Muyu stood up and continued to search in the jungle alone. He was very afraid that if he stopped, he wouldn't be able to help but think about whether Tang Xiaoxi was safe or whether Tang Xiaoxi had encountered an accident. The bright moonlight shone on the ground of the dragon's tomb, reflecting a silver radiance on the piles of dragon bones. Under the skeleton of a silver dragon, a beautiful girl was curled up. She was wearing simple clothes, but the clothes were not very suitable because behind her, a fiery red tail was flying up and dancing restlessly. Fortunately, after so many days, although Tang Xiaoxi didn't know how to change back to her original appearance, she at least learned how to control the flame force in her body. Therefore, all the flame force in her body was contained, so it wouldn't burst out and burn the clothes that she had painstakingly stolen. A pair of starry eyes looked at the bright moon in the sky. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly remembered the first time she came to the dragon's tomb. At that time Lin Muyu and Qin Yin were by her side. Apart from Tang Lan, these two were almost the most important people to Tang Xiaoxi. Her delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly. She murmured, "Mu Xiaoyin, where are you? Will I see you again in the future?" But, in a puddle not far in front of her, she saw her own reflection. 9 fiery tails lightly danced. Although it was extremely seductive, how could she see Lin Muyu and Qin Yin like this? Feeling extremely wronged, Tang Xiaoxi hugged her knees and couldn't help but sob softly. The fox ears on the sides of her head trembled slightly, and the gently swaying fiery tail behind her seemed to be reminding Tang Xiaoxi of her true identity. After an unknown amount of time, suddenly, a torch swayed in the distance and a voice came with the wind, "Young master, look, there is a faint flame coming from the direction of the dragon bones. Let's go and take a look." "Yes." Chapter 275. Ah? When Tang Xiaoxi heard the familiar voice from afar, she could not help but feel sad. She could finally vent all the grievances in her heart at this moment. She abruptly leapt off the dragon bones, her snow-white feet stepping on the fiery ripples as she sprinted towards the direction of the torch without touching the ground. The 9 flame tails behind her danced slowly due to the excitement of their master. "Brother." The moment she rushed out of the forest, she already saw Tang Bin under the light of the torch. Tang Bin and the others abruptly turned around and also saw Tang Xiaoxi under the moonlight. She was still as imposing and beautiful as ever, but the swaying flame tail behind her was really too demonic. In addition to the faint flame energy circulating around her body, as well as that pair of beautiful pale golden eyes, in the eyes of Tang Bin and the others, this was not beauty, but a strange light that caused them to be terrified. "Kill the 9-tailed demon fox." Tang Bin suddenly opened his hand and directly used a Tianchong seal. A flame seal fell from the sky and directly fell on Tang Xiaoxi's head. But before the Tianchong seal could land, a golden seal rose from Tang Xiaoxi's body and smashed the Tianchong seal. Then it turned into a golden seal in the air as if it was protecting Tang Xiaoxi. Soul-subduing seal. Tang Bin was dumbfounded. The soul-suppressing seal was the Firefox seal's 8th level ultimate art. He had painstakingly studied it for close to a year and was still unable to catch a glimpse of it. But Tang Xiaoxi in front of him had actually already grasped the soul-suppressing seal. At this moment, Tang Bin's heart was in turmoil. Although the nine-tailed demon fox in front of him was Tang Xiaoxi in both voice and appearance, Tang Bin could not tolerate her anymore. Once Tang Xiaoxi, who had mastered the 8th level of the Fire Fox Seal, returned to Qihai City, Tang Lan would not hesitate to transfer the inheritance of Qihai City to Tang Xiaoxi. Did you hear me? Kill the nine-tailed demon fox, don't let her harm the common people. Tang Bin shouted with a ferocious expression. The broadsword in Tang Hao's hand trembled slightly as he muttered, Xiaoxi, is it Xiaoxi? Tang Xiaoxi's delicate figure trembled as well, and her golden eyes looked towards Tang Hao as she said, Uncle Hao. It's me, I'm Xiaoxi. Why do all of you want to kill me? Tang Hao's eyes turned red. Xiaoxi, didn't you hear my order? Tang Bin roared and suddenly rushed out. The flames on his body soared and he roared, This is not Xiaoxi. This is just a nine-tailed demon fox. Kill him for me. He opened his palm and the power of the 5 elements surged. The 7th level of the Fire Fox Seal, Seal of 5 Energies. This was Tang Bin's strongest killing move. At this time he used 100% of his power. His desire to kill Tang Xiaoxi was evident. But Tang Xiaoxi stood there quietly. Her 9 flame tails swayed gently. She slowly raised her palm and a golden seal suddenly surged in her palm. It was the highest level of the Fire Fox Seal, the Seal of Samsara. Boom! Tang Bin's Seal of 5 Energies collapsed in an instant, like a wolf surrendering in front of a tiger. On the contrary, Tang Xiaoxi's Seal of Samsara enveloped Tang Bin. As long as Tang Xiaoxi exerted a little force, Tang Bin would be turned into ashes under the power of the seal. However, Tang Xiaoxi couldn't do it. The power of the Seal of Samsara dissipated as if it had never appeared. Wu! Tang Bin stood there trembling. His eyes showed not gratitude but killing intent. He shouted, Tang Min, Tang Chong, Tang Chi, what are you waiting for? Shoot her for me. These people were Tang Bin's absolute confidants. They immediately raised their longbows and arrows, flew out. As long as these arrows tempered with fire poison were shot into the body, the consequences would be unpredictable. Tang Hao hurriedly shouted, Wait, young master. No, this is Xiaoxi. This is Xiaoxi. His eyes were full of tears, but how could he stop Tang Bin who had made up his mind to kill? Under the moonlight, Tang Xiaoxi gently turned around. Her 9 flame tails danced in the air, deflecting all the arrows. At the same time, the flame-fighting energy around her became more and more intense. She could have easily killed the group of people in front of her, but she couldn't do it. Many of these people were elders who watched her grow up. Many of these people were her clansmen who played with her when she was young. Clang. Tang Bin's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and pulled out the sword from the waist of the attendant. He leaped up and the blade shook and refracted 3 sword lights in the air, slashing towards Tang Xiaoxi. Bang bang bang. With 3 loud sounds, the flame tail's flame-profound energy easily blocked Tang Bin's attack. Tang Xiaoxi spread out her 5 fingers, and suddenly the golden mark of the soul-suppressing seal appeared in her palm. She lightly said, Brother, don't force me to kill you. Tang Bin raised his sword and slashed down again as if he had gone mad. There are no demons in the Tang family. If you cherish the reputation of the Tang family, then die. Don't ruin the reputation of my 7 Seas Tang sect. Tang Xiaoxi smiled miserably. The soul-suppressing seal in her palm instantly dissipated and was replaced by a flame palm force. Bang! Tang Bin's body fell down. A few of his ribs had already been broken. He spat out a mouthful of blood but he still struggled to crawl up. He gripped his sword tightly and said angrily, Attack together and kill her. Otherwise the Tang family will be consigned to eternal damnation. Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes were filled with despair as she muttered, Don't force me, but a group of people still raised their spears and rushed over. The spears were suffused with true energy as they stabbed towards Tang Xiaoxi's body. These people from 7 Seas City had all gone crazy. All of you die. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly leaped up, flames lingering around her body in the air aimed a soul-suppressing seal towards the ground. Boom! The powerful seal formed a shockwave. Immediately, a group of people retreated with blood flowing from their 7 apertures and died on the spot. She really is a demon. She really is a demon wearing a beautiful appearance. Tang Bin's face was pale. He pointed his sword at Tang Xiaoxi and laughed loudly, The demon has revealed her true face. Kill her for me, kill her for me. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Her smile was incomparably sorrowful. Her delicate body under the moonlight was especially pitiful. But Tang Bin and the others would not pity her. In the blink of an eye, another group of people rushed over with their swords and sabers. Arrows flew in the air. Tang Xiaoxi gritted her teeth and used another 5 chi seal. In an instant, dozens of people died tragically. At the same time, Tang Xiaoxi's protective supreme force also slowly dissipated. Pooh! Her fragrant shoulder was suddenly struck by an arrow, causing blood to flow while a few traces of sword chi had appeared on her arm and abdomen. However, these injuries were nothing to Tang Xiaoxi. What truly caused her pain was Tang Bin's cruelty and heartlessness. It was the indifference of this older brother that had grown up with her since she was young. This pain was like a myriad of arrows piercing through her heart, causing her to be in so much pain that she wished she was dead. Enough! Enough! Tang Hao suddenly raised his arm and blocked in front of Tang Bin. He loudly said, "Young master, this is really Xiaoxi. How many more do we have to die before we are satisfied? Don't hurt her anymore." Tang Bin's eyes were cold. He slowly raised his palm. The star offering seal was enshrouded in his palm. "Uncle Hao, get out of the way. Otherwise the next person to die will be you." Tang Hao slowly closed his eyes. Tears flowed out of his eyes. "I watched you all grow up. I really can't bear to see you all kill each other. Kill me. Don't let me see everything in front of me anymore." Bus. Tang Bin's star offering seal came out. However, Tang Hao was safe and sound. When he opened his eyes, he saw Tang Xiaoxi standing in front of him, her 9 flaming tails dancing in a seductive manner. It was she who had blocked the star offering seal for him. Pooh! Tang Xiaoxi suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her clothes were tattered by the star offering seal. Half of her snow-white body was exposed. It was stained with blood. Many of the clan's disciples couldn't bear to look at it. "Brother." Tang Xiaoxi wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and suddenly smiled. She said in an incomparably calm voice, "If Xiaoxi obstructs your path, then you can kill Xiaoxi. You've always doted on Xiaoxi since she was young, perhaps this is the ending I deserve." Saying this, Tang Xiaoxi slowly closed her beautiful eyes. She just stood there. "Young Master Tang Bin, don't!" Tang Hao hurriedly shouted. But Tang Bin still limped forward with his sword. His sword was filled with fighting spirit. He planned to use this sword to pierce through Tang Xiaoxi's body and end everything. Just when everyone thought that Tang Xiaoxi was about to die, a golden light suddenly blossomed in the sky. A figure landed in front of Tang Xiaoxi like lightning. The golden gourd martial spirit broke out of his body. The wall of the gourd blocked Tang Bin's attack. Almost at the same time, the sword in his hand cleanly swept through the air. Puff! Tang Bin retreated a few steps under the rebound of the strong fighting spirit. He couldn't help but reach out to touch his throat. There, a huge cut was spewing blood. His entire throat was almost cut open by this sword. Lin Muyu's eyes were red and cold. The blood on the dragon spirit sword in her hand fell to the grass. She said in a cold voice, "I'm not a member of the Tang family. I don't mind killing this scum of the Tang sect." Tang Xiaoxi opened her eyes, but she ignored Tang Bin, who fell to the ground and died. Her eyes became soft. The back of Lin Muyu in front of her seemed to bring all comfort. "Moo!" Her tears burst out. Lin Muyu turned around and hugged her slender waist. She held her weak body in her arms. Her cold eyes were like a rapidly melting glacier. She smiled softly and said, "Xiaoxi, I'm sorry I'm late." "Not late, not late." Tang Xiaoxi cried, "As long as you're here, it's never late." At this time, a group of 7 Seas City clansmen woke up from the shock. One of them held a long sword and shouted angrily, "Lin Muyu, you actually killed the young master of 7 Seas City, Tang Bin. Do you know how big of a sin this is?" Lin Muyu looked up at him and said, "Before I decided to silence you, why didn't you get lost?" The group of 7 Seas City clansmen were dumbfounded. But looking at Tang Bin's body on the ground, they didn't dare to leave. How big of a sin was this? On the contrary, Tang Hao walked forward and picked up Tang Bin's body. He said, "Xiaoxi, I didn't expect things to develop to this point." Tang Xiaoxi nestled in Lin Muyu's arms. The gaze in her golden eyes was very soft. "Uncle Hao, take Tang Bin's body back to 7 Seas City. Tell Grandpa that Xiaoxi has wronged him." Tang Hao nodded. "And then you're on your own." Chapter 276. The figures of Tang Hao and the others gradually disappeared into the jungle. Lin Muyu was still holding Tang Xiaoxi in his arms. Looking at the wounds all over her body, he couldn't help but feel a burst of heartache. With a leap, he landed on the dragon bones above and placed Tang Xiaoxi on the smooth dragon bones. Then he took out some healing medicine and applied it to every wound on her. Tang Xiaoxi lay quietly in his arms with a faint smile on her lips. Ever since the demon fox in her body had awakened, Tang Xiaoxi had never been as calm as this moment. It was as if as long as Lin Muyu was by her side, she was not afraid of anything. After applying the medicine, Lin Muyu helped her up and sat her in front of him. Using the spirit pulse technique, he sensed the powerful strength in Tang Xiaoxi's body. He couldn't help but frown and say, "Xiaoxi, I'm afraid you're stronger than me now. Why don't you resist and let Tang Bing kill you?" A trace of depression flashed across Tang Xiaoxi's face as she said faintly, "I've already become like this. Do I still want to kill and harm people?" "This is to protect yourself, not harm people. Is that so?" Tang Xiaoxi blinked her golden eyes and looked deeply at Lin Muyu. She suddenly asked with a smile, "Mu, seeing me like this, don't you feel afraid at all? What's there to be afraid of?" Lin Muyu smiled and reached out to caress her fox ears. She said with a smile, "You look cute like this." Tang Xiaoxi was silent for a while and asked, "Won't you dislike me like this?" "No." Lin Muyu comforted her. "Xiaoxi, I've told you before that I come from another world with a different civilization. In our world, if anyone could have a girlfriend like you, they would definitely be envied to death. Because everyone would say that there's nothing to be proud of about what kind of girl you've hooked up with. I've hooked up with a beautiful nine-tailed demon fox. Everyone would be envious of me." "Really?" Tang Xiaoxi looked at her with a smile through her tears. "Of course." Lin Muyu's gaze landed on the 9 flame tails behind Tang Xiaoxi. "It's just that with so many tails it's a bit troublesome." "What's the trouble?" Tang Xiaoxi asked with a smile. "Well." Lin Muyu pondered for a moment and said, "If I marry you in the future, I'm afraid I can't use the position where you are on the bottom. This will press down on my tail." Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face turned completely red. "Stinky Mu, you're still making fun of me at this time?" Seeing her smile, Lin Muyu was relieved. However, after a few seconds Tang Xiaoxi blushed and whispered, "It's okay, I can be up there." Lin Muyu was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu came back with some dry firewood and started a bonfire in the pit of the dragon bones. Then, she took out the rabbit she had hunted a few days ago from her universe bag and roasted it over the fire. Not long after, oil splashed into the fire, and a fragrant smell filled the air. Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes stared at the delicious food. It seemed like she hadn't eaten something decent in many days. "Are you cold?" Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi. She was only wearing a badly damaged village woman's clothes, so a large portion of her body was exposed. It was alluring, but it would definitely be very cold in early spring. Thus, Lin Muyu reached out and tore off the holy temple cloak behind her and thoughtfully covered Tang Xiaoxi with it. Then she took out a small magic noise knife and skillfully cut off a large piece of rabbit leg meat from the rabbit and handed it to Tang Xiaoxi. She smiled and said, Eat more." "Okay." Tang Xiaoxi took the piece of meat and took a small bite. After her appetite was stimulated, she began to eat in large mouthfuls. She was indeed starving. Lin Muyu could even imagine Tang Xiaoxi drinking water by the river in the form of a little fox. Lin Muyu instantly felt her heart ache. "Eat slowly, it's all yours," he said with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi's face reddened. "Do I really have that much of an appetite?" "It's okay, I'll roast another one." Lin Muyu smiled and took out a wild boar's leg from her cosmos sack. This boar's leg was almost dried up in the cosmos sack's alternate dimension. She skewered it with a thick branch and placed it over the fire to roast. At this moment she heard a howling sound. A Catasaurus seemed to be protesting. Everyone had something to eat, but it was the only one who had nothing. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She suddenly opened her hand and used her 4-dimensional power to create a crack in space 10 meters away. A Catasaurus immediately came out and saw everything in front of it. It howled a few times at the pile of dragon bones. It was probably out of respect and mourning for its own kind. It turned around and immediately scuttled up the spine of the dragon bones. When the little dragon saw Tang Xiaoxi, it didn't have any fear. It howled and pounced into Tang Xiaoxi's arms. It stuck out its soft tongue and licked Tang Xiaoxi's palm. This was the nature of the dragon race. A Catasaurus, a high-level dragon race, could distinguish the aura of humans. Therefore it was still so intimate with Tang Xiaoxi. This was enough to prove that Tang Xiaoxi was still Princess Shi. The only difference was that her strength and form had changed. Little Apple, Tang Xiaoxi hugged a Catasaurus's silly head and was extremely happy. "I thought I would never see you again. I didn't expect you to appear again. Hee hee." Acatosaurus naturally hugged the princess's arm and kept acting coquettishly. Lin Muyu quickly pulled it back by its tail and gave it a raw boar leg. She said, "Eat at the side." "How dare you steal my benefits?" Tang Xiaoxi opened her golden eyes wide and asked with a smile, "What benefits?" Lin Muyu's gaze fell on her snow-white breasts that were vaguely visible under her clothes. For now, he could only hope that Tang Lan would calm down a little and not do something rash to mobilize the army just for the sake of Tang Bin. After a while, Acatosaurus consecutively ate a few wild boar legs and laid down lazily to the side, snoring. The way it slept could be said that it did not have the majesty of the dragon race at all. Lin Muyu began to cut the meat from the wild boar leg to feed Tang Xiaoxi. Not long after, Princess Shi was once again amused by her sweetheart who spoke in a weird manner. Although Xiaoxi was a princess, the people in this world were conservative and serious. Lin Muyu's unruly and carefree attitude was undoubtedly the most fatal blow to the hearts of the young ladies in this world. Because there was no tent, after they ate and drank their fill, Tang Xiaoxi nestled in Lin Muyu's arms and fell asleep sweetly. The flames of the bonfire danced lightly at the side. Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful sleeping face and wondered how long it had been since she had slept so peacefully. He could not help but feel his heart ache. It was destined that he would not be able to sleep tonight. No one knew how many dangers there were in the dragon's tomb. Fortunately, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Even if they encountered a 10,000-year-old spiritual beast, they might not be at a disadvantage. It was a sleepless night. The next day, dew sprinkled all over the dragon's tomb. The warm sunlight pierced through the forest, casting mottled shadows on the dragon bones. At this time the little dragon woke up. It opened its eyes and arched itself on Lin Muyu's arm. It let out a cry, indicating to its master that it was hungry again. Lin Muyu could not help but secretly scold this fellow for being a glutton. At this time, Tang Xiaoxi also opened her eyes. A pair of golden eyes looked at Lin Muyu without hiding the longing in them. She smiled and said, "Mu, what should we do now?" "Leave the dragon's tomb and secretly return to Lanyan City." "Okay." Chapter 277. Early in the morning, Lin Muyu left the dragon's necropolis while bathing in the warm sunlight. She actually found that warhorse in the forest outside the dragon's necropolis. It seemed like Tang Hao had left it behind for her. Lin Muyu was very grateful. Actually, Tang Hao was a good person, but he had followed the wrong person. If he had continued to follow Tang Bin, he probably wouldn't have been a good person. Luckily, she had killed Tang Bin with a single strike of her sword. Lin Muyu flipped onto the horse and reached out to pull Tang Xiaoxi up into his arms. However, Tang Xiaoxi's 9 fiery tails really blocked her vision. Luckily, Tang Xiaoxi was smart. She stuck out her tongue and sat on the horse, letting her fiery tails hang down beside the horse's belly so that it wouldn't affect Lin Muyu's galloping. However, this way she could only hug Lin Muyu's waist and lean on him tightly. Taking out the map scroll, Lin Muyu glanced at it, then looked at the sun to confirm the direction. He then urged the horse forward. The warhorse had eaten grass in the forest for an entire night, so it had enough legs. With a long neigh, it charged forward. They had to reach Lanyan City as soon as possible. Otherwise, Qinjin, Qinin, and the others would definitely be very worried. However, Lin Muyu didn't know that after he left, Qinin, Chu Chu, Zhen Yifan, and the others had all come to the dragon's necropolis. This part of the dragon's necropolis was very lively. They hadn't traveled far when the auras of experts suddenly appeared in the spirit pulse technique. Instantly, Lin Muyu couldn't help but tremble. She hurriedly turned the horse around and ran into the forest. However, it was already too late. One of the enemy scouts galloped over and shouted, "Brat, don't run. I've already seen you." Looking at the insignia on this person's shoulder, he was from the Divine Might Battalion. Behind him was a group of cavalry galloping over, and Zhen Yifan was among them. Lin Muyu couldn't help but groan inwardly. They had just left the dragon's tomb and they had already run into the Divine Might Battalion. Truly, misfortune never comes alone. Zheng Yifan spurred his horse forward. His gaze swept across Lin Muyu, then landed on Tang Xiaoxi. Looking at Tang Xiaoxi's fox ears and fiery tail, he couldn't help but smile and say, "I originally thought that the 9-tailed demon fox was just a legend, but now it seems like it's true. Princess Shi, are you really Princess Shi?" Tang Xiaoxi jumped down from Lin Muyu's arms and landed lightly on the grass. Her snow-white feet stepped on the ripples of flames as she floated in the air. The 9 tails of flames behind her swayed gently. She bowed like a lady of the empire and smiled. "Greetings to the Marquis. Tang Xiaoxi greets you." Zheng Yifan hastily got off his horse and cupped his fists. "You're too kind, princess." Zheng Yifan greets Princess Shi. On the side, Sikong Nan's palm was pressed on the hilt of his sword. Behind him, many of the Divine Might Battalion's men also had their swords drawn and were ready to fight at any time. Although Zheng Yifan's expression was respectful, the Divine Might Battalion's true stance was the people behind him, right? Lin Muyu flicked her wrist and took off the Dragon Spirit sword from her back. She buckled it at her waist so that she could unsheath it at any time. She cupped her fists and smiled. "I didn't expect Divine Marquis to come to the Dragon Forest as well." Zheng Yifan said, "That's because His Majesty is concerned about Princess Shi's safety. As his subjects, we naturally can't just stand by and watch. It's our lifelong wish to die for His Majesty." "What a lifelong wish." Lin Muyu laughed and said respectfully, "Divine Marquis, I found Princess Shi. Please return. I'll bring Princess Shi safely back to Lanyan City." "No, since I'm here coincidentally, why don't we protect Princess Shi back to the imperial capital?" Zheng Yifan said with a smile. "After all, it'll be safer if there are more people." "Safety my ass." Lin Muyu cursed in her heart, but she couldn't refute Zheng Yifan's words. However, she really didn't want to travel with Zheng Yifan. It was the same as sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. At this moment, Sikong Nan suddenly raised his voice. "General Lin Muyu, I wonder if you've seen young Master Tang Bin from Seven Seas City?" "Tang Bin?" Lin Muyu's heart trembled. She shook her head without hesitation. "I haven't seen him." What a joke. If Zheng Yifan knew that she killed Tang Bin, he would definitely use this as a pretext to make a fuss. By then he would have even more reason to kill her and Tang Xiaoxi. It might even be possible that he would clean up Tang Lan's family. Tang Xiaoxi bowed again and said with a smile, "Divine Marquis, Xiaoxi has a presumptuous request. I wonder if Divine Marquis can fulfill Xiaoxi's wish." Zheng Yifan laughed. "Princess Shi is too courteous. Please speak." Tang Xiaoxi blinked her golden eyes and said, "Everyone in Lanyan City knows that the person Xiaoxi likes is the Emperor's godson Lin Muyu. Now that I can finally be alone with Mu, I hope that Marquis can fulfill my wish and let me and Mu return to Lanyan City alone. This way we can go sightseeing and talk about love on the way." As she spoke, her face blushed. Even though she was lying, she still couldn't help but feel shy. Zheng Yifan was stunned. He didn't expect Tang Xiaoxi to be so straightforward. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart that beautiful girls in this era were indeed very open. Thinking back to when he was fighting in the north and south, he basically had to fight for women. Frowning, Zheng Yifan came up with an idea. He smiled and said, "There are many dangers in the dragon-seeking forest, so Princess Shi's safety is the most important. Let's travel together. This way, even if we encounter some 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts, we can still avoid danger." What does Princess Shi think? Is the Marquis doubting Xiaoxi's strength? Tang Xiaoxi giggled and suddenly raised her left hand. Her palm shone with a golden light and her whole body was enshrouded in flames. With a sudden shout, the soul-suppressing seal broke through the air. With a boom, a huge rock that was a few meters tall not far away was instantly turned into powder. Even the shockwave from the soul-suppressing seal smashed the surrounding trees into pieces. This kind of destructive power made Sikong Nan and the other generals of the Divine Might Battalion dumbfounded. Everyone knew that Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation was not weak, but wasn't she a little too strong at this time? This kind of momentum was not inferior to the Holy Region at all. How is it? Does the Marquis still think that Xiaoxi doesn't have the ability to protect herself? Tang Xiaoxi smiled slightly. Zheng Yifan's expression was calm, but in his heart he was extremely shocked. Everyone said that the nine-tailed demon fox was a monster, but now it seemed that this monster was really too strong. It directly allowed Tang Xiaoxi, who was at the first level of the heaven realm, to have the cultivation of the Holy Region. This kind of leap in strength was really too shocking. At this time, just as Zheng Yifan was thinking about how to make Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu stay, another group of people suddenly galloped from the north, and their aura was very familiar. Lin Muyu turned around and saw a familiar figure at the forefront of this group of people. Was Qin Yin. Seeing Chu Chu beside Qin Yin, Lin Muyu immediately felt relieved. As long as Chu Chu was there, the fire palm could rule the universe, and Zheng Yifan had no chance of winning. In fact, Lin Muyu even felt that it was necessary to get rid of Zheng Yifan here and now to avoid future troubles. However, this idea was too bold. Although Feng Jixing would definitely approve of it, Chu Chu was a loyal and honest person, so he would definitely not be willing to do so. Xiaoxi. Qin Yin happily jumped off the horse and flew over. Xiaoyin. Tang Xiaoxi was also very happy. The two girls hugged each other in the air. Qin Yin hugged her best friend tightly, while Tang Xiaoxi's 9 flame tails swayed gently, looking very excited. At the same time, she used her strength to control her body and safely landed with Qin Yin. All right. Lin Muyu moved her hand away from the hilt of her sword and cupped her fists. Now that Her Highness, Chu and Feng Jixing are here, Xiaoxi's safety will definitely not be a problem. Divine Marquis, thank you for your concern. We will return to Lanyan City by ourselves. You should also be careful along the way. You are an important official of the Empire, so no accidents can happen to you. Zheng Yifun's expression was extremely ugly. He cupped his fists. Zhang Wei's words made him slightly moved, but he quickly overturned it. This world was changing too quickly. The only thing he wanted to do now was to stay by Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's side. He was already very satisfied to be able to accompany them. At this moment, Chu Chu rode his horse to Lin Muyu's side with a solemn expression and said, When we came here we met Tang Hao and the people from Seven Seas City. Did you kill Tang Bin? Chapter 278. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and calmly said, If I didn't kill Tang Bin at that moment, Xiaoxi would have died in Tang Bin's hands. Hey? Chu Chu let out a long sigh and said, Even so? I'm afraid there would be a dispute. In the end, Tang Bin still died in your hands. Once Tang Hao and the others return to Seven Seas City, I'm afraid this matter will spread. At that time, how should we resolve it? Qin Yin's bright eyes looked at Chu Chu and said, Tang Bin wanted to kill Xiaoxi. This matter can be said to be witnessed by everyone. As long as we explain it to Duke Lan with Duke Lan's love for Xiaoxi, I'm sure he will understand. No. Chu Chu shook his head and said, If it was Xiaoxi who killed Tang Bin, perhaps Duke Lan will forgive Xiaoxi. After all, Xiaoxi was only protecting herself. But you killed Tang Bin, this cannot be forgiven. Think about it, what will Duke Lan think? Even if Tang Bin wanted to kill Xiaoxi, that is Seven Seas City's own matter. Why is it up to you, the foster son of the emperor, to act? Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but be afraid. What should we do? Chu Chu sighed and said, Let's take one step at a time and see how His Majesty will rule on this matter. Your Highness and the princess must speak up for you in front of His Majesty. This way, His Majesty will not sacrifice the rook to protect the general. Sacrifice the rook to protect the general? Qin Yin's eyes widened. No, it won't happen. Father will not abandon brother Yu. Chu Chu smiled. Your Highness is deceiving yourself. It's not like you don't know His Majesty's character. Between the country and you, who is more important, do you still not understand? Qin Yin fell silent. At the side, Feng Jixing patted Lin Muyu on the shoulder and said, Don't worry, there'll always be a way. Chu's words are reasonable, but you should also understand that you're the foster son of the emperor and the strongest cultivator in the younger generation of Lanyan City. Moreover, you have such a good relationship with Xiaoyin. His Majesty needs you to protect his daughter, so he won't touch you. Chu Chu couldn't help but smile. General Feng's words are true. Lin Muyu changed the topic and asked, Chu, the power in Xiaoxi's body has awakened, so she transformed into the nine-tailed fox. I wonder if Chu has any way to restore Xiaoxi's body to its original state. Although we don't mind her current form, it really affects her normal life. Chu Chu nodded. I know very little about the legend of the nine-tailed fox. Even in the ancient books, there are very few records about it. In the long history of tens of thousands of years, every war means the loss of a civilization's ancient books. I'm afraid there's no one in this world who knows about the nine-tailed fox. We're the only ones who have seen the nine-tailed fox. Then what should we do? Lin Muyu was a little speechless. Qin Yin said, Fortunately, Xiaoxi can now control the flame power in her body. As long as she puts on the cloak, no one will be able to tell anything. We can slowly think of a way. Well, that's the only way. Let's return to Lanyan City at full speed. The dragon-seeking forest is too dangerous. Alright. 3 days later they returned to Lanyan City. It was silent in Zetian Palace. Qin Jin sat on the throne and watched as Chu Chu, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Feng Jixing, and Tang Xiaoxi walked in side by side. Xiaoyin, Chu, you're back. Qin Jin stood up excitedly and said, Xiaoxi is back too. It's good that she's fine, it's good that she's fine. Tang Xiaoxi looked at Qin Jin with her golden eyes and bowed like a lady, saying, "Thank you for your concern, your Imperial Majesty." Qin Jin looked into Tang Xiaoxi's eyes and felt a little uneasy. Qin Yin lifted the cloak on her head and said to the guards around her, "All Imperial guards and attendants are to leave. I want to have a good talk with my father. You guys can just stand guard outside." Everyone cupped their fists together and said, "Yes, your Imperial Highness." After all the guards had left, Qin Jin nodded and said, "That's enough. Xiaoxi, let us have a look at you." Tang Xiaoxi slowly lifted the cloak and a beautiful face appeared in front of the emperor. However, a pair of fox ears glowed with a faint fiery luster and trembled slightly. She reached out to untie the belt in front of her chest and the cloak fell to the ground with a whoosh. Immediately, 9 fiery tails swayed gently behind her. It was very beautiful. Huff. Qin Jin sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Tang Xiaoxi in shock. This was the legendary 9-tailed demon fox, but from the looks of it, it was still Tang Xiaoxi. "Xiaoxi, that's enough." He waved his hand. Tang Xiaoxi put on the cloak again and lowered her head. She said quietly, "I'm sorry, Xiaoxi, I've scared your Imperial Majesty." "It's fine." Qin Jin nodded and suddenly looked at Lin Muyu with a stern gaze. "Lin Muyu, do you know your crime?" Lin Muyu took a step forward and said, "Imperial Father, what crime have I committed?" Qin Jin's gaze was stern as he said, "The news of you killing Duke Lan's eldest grandson, Tang Bin, has already spread throughout Lanyan City. Are you still going to feign ignorance? Men, drag Lin Muyu away and behead her." "Don't, Imperial Father." Qin Yin hurriedly knelt down. Tang Xiaoxi also knelt on the ground and said, "Your Imperial Majesty, Lin Muyu had no choice but to kill Tang Bin in order to save my life. Your Imperial Majesty, please forgive her. If your Imperial Majesty blames Lin Muyu for this, then Tang Xiaoxi can only be punished for the same crime." Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, "Your Imperial Majesty, Lin Muyu killed someone in order to save his life. It's pardonable and not deserving of death. This old man also thinks that your Imperial Majesty should spare Lin Muyu's life." Qin Jin said calmly, "Lin Muyu, since ancient times, murder must be paid with one's life. Moreover, the person you killed was Tang Bin, the first-in-line successor to 7 Seas City. If we want to punish you, do you have any objections?" Lin Muyu raised his head to look at the pale-faced emperor and said, "Your Imperial Majesty, please do as you wish." He was also vaguely displeased. Even though he knew that this was the emperor's way of doing things, Qin Jin had always referred to Qin Jin as his adopted son. Now that he had turned against him so mercilessly in the blink of an eye, he finally felt the coldness of the human heart. In this great hall, it was probably more about the mutual exploitation between the ruler and his official than the familial love between father and son. In the end, the emperor's adopted son was just an empty title. Looking at Lin Muyu's appearance, Qin Jin gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, later, after the meeting is over, report to the Imperial prison. You will be temporarily detained in the Imperial prison to be tried again later." Yes. No matter how hard Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi begged, it was useless. Qin Jin had only promised not to kill Tang Bin, but he had not promised not to punish him. If he did not punish him, the special envoy from 7 Seas City in Lanyan City would probably have something to say about it. At this moment, a messenger flew in from outside. "Your Imperial Majesty, urgent military news." Everyone was stunned. The country was at peace and the people were at peace. Where did this military news come from? Qin Jin raised his brows and said, "Speak, where did this military news come from?" The messenger said respectfully, "Military news from Demon Subduing Pass in the west of Lanyan City. A day ago, a large number of demons from the west gathered at Demon Subduing Pass and may attack at any time. It is said that the demons have mobilized more than 200,000 troops this time." "What?" Qin Jin stood up abruptly, anger on his face. "The demons of the Forest of Infinity want to cause trouble again? Do they want to relive the scene of our army sweeping through the Forest of Infinity 20 years ago?" Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, "Your Imperial Majesty, the demons have been lying dormant in the Forest of Infinity for decades. Now that they have invaded again, they must be plotting something. We must send a famous general to defend Demon Subduing Pass. Otherwise, once Demon Subduing Pass is breached, the demon's army may arrive at Lanyan City at any time. At that time, I'm afraid everything will be too late." Qin Jin nodded. "Who does Lord Chu Chu want to recommend?" "Lin Muyu." Chu Chu smiled slightly. "It's time for him to gain some real experience. No, Lin Muyu is a criminal and cannot lead an army." Qin Jin's gaze was stern as he said, "Men, send an order to the country protector General Wuxia to immediately set out for demon-subduing pass. We must stop these 200,000 demons in the west." "Yes." A messenger said respectfully and turned to leave. Qin Jin said again, "Demon-subduing pass only has a measly 10,000 troops. It is not enough to contend against the demon's army. Send a letter to the Seven Seas and order Du Hai to dispatch 30,000 Tianchong troops to reinforce demon-subduing pass." "Yes." Another messenger accepted the order and left. The demons had not set foot in the Central Plains for 20 years. Now they were coming in a threatening manner, but Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and the others did not feel much fear. This was because when the demons last appeared in the Central Plains, they had not yet been born. However, Chu Chu understood the demon's power. He cupped his fists and said, "Your Majesty, forgive me for speaking bluntly. 40,000 troops still cannot stop the demons' attack. At least 150,000 elites are needed to stop them." "We know." Qin Jin nodded and said, "However, there are only so many troops that can be dispatched within the imperial capital. Sangnan Province, Tianshu Province and Yunzhong Province are too far away, so it is inconvenient to dispatch troops. Only Qihai Province is the closest to the imperial capital. The army can arrive within 3 days, but that brat you just killed Tang Bin. How can Duke Lan dispatch troops to reinforce the imperial capital?" Tang Xiaoxi raised her head and said, "Your Majesty, if there is a need, Xiaoxi is willing to personally make a trip to Qihai City and beg grandfather to dispatch troops to reinforce demon-subduing pass." That is all we can do. We will have to trouble Xiaoxi then." Qin Jin sat on the throne and said, "Elder Chu, accompany Xiaoxi to Seven Seas City. You must invite the 10,000-strong army of Seven Seas City. Otherwise, we can only use the Flying Mount Battalion and the Imperial Guards to defend against the demonic race." "Yes, Your Majesty, rest assured." Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi turned and left. Tang Xiaoxi looked back at Lin Muyu reluctantly and said, "Mu, you must be well and wait for my return." Lin Muyu nodded and did not speak. After the meeting, the protector of the state, Yuan Xie, personally led the official guard to demon-subduing pass to command the war. Lin Muyu was escorted to the imperial prison by 2 imperial guards. It was the first time he experienced the imperial prison of Lanyan City, so it was naturally a particularly refreshing feeling. Fortunately, the imperial prison was guarded by the imperial guard. Although Lin Muyu had been sent to the imperial prison, he still had his rank, so the prison guards were extraordinarily courteous. Moreover, at night, Qinin personally came to visit him and brought him a lot of delicious food. This treatment was not at all like being in a prison, but more like being on vacation in the imperial prison. Moreover, he was accompanied by the beautiful princess, which no one else could envy. Chapter 279. Starlight shone through the prison cell's iron window. Lin Muyu sat quietly on the bed made of straw. Streams of dark force circulated around his body. The forging dragon bone remnant scroll was constantly tempering his body. Now the strength of his bones and blood vessels had long surpassed Feng Jixing, Chu Huaying, Qin Lei and the others who were also at the second level of the heaven realm. This was the magic of the forging dragon bone remnant scroll. After circulating it for a full cycle, he slowly exhaled and looked up at the starlight outside the window. He could not help but wonder where Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Chu were now. They had traveled day and night. They should be able to reach Seven Seas City in at most 2 days, right? At this moment, the 7 luminaries demon emperor who had been dormant in the depths of Yihai for a long time suddenly spoke. Lin Ruoji say, "How did you end up like this?" "Sai, I really don't know what to say about you." Lin Muyu leaned against the window and smiled. "What's wrong? As the emperor's godson, you were actually thrown into prison. Moreover, you killed Tang Bin to save your beloved woman. What crime did you commit?" The 7 luminaries demon emperor said indignantly, "If I had my temper back then, I would have broken the prison with one palm and gone straight to Dragon Rocky Mountain. You have 20,000 elites like the Longdan army camp, who do you need to be afraid of? Kill your way to Tsangnan province, trick them into opening the city gates, threaten the provincial governor Si Kongfan, take away his military power and force your way to Tianshu province. With your ability, you can take down Tianshu province within 7 days, then take over the Portongtian province. After that, you can rest and recuperate for 2 years, cross the Qinling Mountains and conquer the 4 big provinces in the south. After that, you can counterattack Lanyan City and proclaim yourself as the emperor. The world will be yours, you won't have to stay in prison so bitterly." Lin Muyu squinted her eyes. "Demon Emperor, your plan sounds even better than a song. Unfortunately, it is full of mistakes, and if you do this, how many people will die? What are the dead afraid of? The 7 luminaries demon emperor laughed coldly. I was born to be a king. Whoever makes me feel wronged, I'll turn them into ashes. Let me tell you, kid, if you want others to respect you, you must first make them fear you. If you can't even do that, what right do you have to protect the people you care about? What right do you have to make others follow your will? Lin Muyu agreed. I've known you for so long. What you said makes sense, but it's too arrogant. I'm arrogant? Ah. The 7 luminaries demon emperor was laughing so hard that he was about to cry. I only said what I could do. This is called arrogance. If you want to talk about arrogance, you actually dared to challenge a holy domain like Xian Yifan when you were as weak as a chicken. You're the King arrogant one. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call you the world's #1 madman. You're mocking me again. I'm mocking you. The 7 luminaries demon emperor laughed heartlessly. Lin Muyu slammed the table and said, I've already gotten to this point and you're still mocking me. We share the same Ihai after all. Can't you have some sympathy for me? The 7 luminaries demon emperor laughed loudly. Sympathy? I've never sympathized with the weak. I only respect the strong. If you can start a rebellion, destroy Cloud Province, 7 Seas Province, and make the world submit to you, I'll respect you. Otherwise you're not worthy. Lin Muyu laughed. Demon Emperor, you've made the world submit to you before, right? In the end you didn't even have a body. Did others respect you? In the end, did you even have half a person who loved you? The 7 luminaries demon emperor was stunned. After a few seconds of silence he said, Lin Ruoji, you really don't know how to chat. I'm going to sleep. Lin Muyu threw a tantrum and buried her head in sleep. 10 days later. Amidst the sound of the chains being unlocked, there was a whiff of the fragrance of wine. Feng Jixing came over with a bottle of fine wine. He was dressed in a handsome Imperial Army commander's armor. It was a huge contrast to Lin Muyu, who was dressed in black. Aha, you brother, Feng is here to see you. Feng Jixing held the wine jug and ordered the servants to put down a few delicacies. Let's have a good drink to celebrate your release from prison. Release from prison? Lin Muyu was stunned. What do you mean? Has His Majesty decided to pardon me? Dream on. Feng Jixing glanced at him and said, His Majesty locked you up for Duke Lan to see. If Duke Lan doesn't relent, do you think His Majesty will let you out? But now there is a chance to get out. What do you mean? You know about the battle at Demon Subduing Pass, right? The 7 Seas City sent out troops and sent 100,000 troops to reinforce Demon Subduing Pass. His Majesty used Yu Wenxie as the commander, and a total of 140,000 elites were defending Demon Subduing Pass against the 200,000 monster race troops. But just 2 hours ago Yu Shu flew to Lanyan City. Yu Wenxie's troops were defeated and fell into the monster race's trap. Almost none of the 70,000 people who went out to kill the enemy returned. All of them died in battle, and even the vanguard general died in battle. Damn? Lin Muyu frowned. What good thing is this? Feng Jixing smiled. Yu Wenxie is old and useless. Moreover, he is obstinate and self-opinionated. Among the many generals in Lanyan City, I, Feng Jixing, need to guard the imperial city. Chu Huaying needs to stay in the Flying Mount camp to continue training this army that originally didn't belong to His Majesty. Qin Lei, this fellow, is brave but not astute. Only you, Lin Muyu, displayed outstanding strategy in the battle with Long Chenlin on Fire Axe Mountain, so the battle of Demon Subduing Pass must be ended by you. It won't take more than 3 days for His Majesty's Imperial Edict of Appointment to arrive at the Sky Prison. Lin Muyu also smiled. Big brother Feng, drink, haha. Haha, drink. As Feng Jixing had expected, the next day, an attendant brought the Emperor's Imperial Edict into Lin Muyu's Sky Prison and brought her back to Zetian Palace Hall. At this time there were many officials standing in Zetian Palace Hall. At least 100 important officials were watching this godson of the Emperor walk in step by step. Lin Muyu had already changed into the attire of a divine temple deacon. Tang Xiaoxi had returned and was standing beside Chu Chu. She stuck out her tongue at Lin Muyu and smiled. Greetings, Your Majesty. Lin Muyu didn't even preface her tone. She directly performed an empire's military salute to Qin Jin. There was no need to mention kneeling on both knees as a subject. Qin Jin frowned and said, the matter of you accidentally killing young Master Tang Bin? Duke Lan has already agreed not to pursue it for now. Now that Demon Subduing Pass is in a bloody battle, the Empire needs people. We have decided to appoint you as the commander of the frontline army. You will lead 700 men from the Eagle Nest camp to Demon Subduing Pass and take over the command of General Wuxia. Are you willing? Lin Muyu nodded. Yes. Someone bring the tiger tally? Qin Jin said loudly. An attendant brought an embroidered box in front of Lin Muyu. Inside the box was a golden tiger tally, which was different from the dragon talisman. There was also an imperial edict to the side. That was his letter of appointment. Only with this imperial edict could he take over military power from Wuxia's hands. Qin Jin looked at him from afar and said, "You, go and make up for your mistakes with your merits. If you didn't defeat the demon army, then you don't need to return to Lanyan City. What other requests do you have?" Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Your Majesty, I've never seen a demon before, and I've never commanded an army of 100,000. Therefore, can you please assign me a veteran general who has experienced war as my assistant general so that he can remind me at all times?" The corner of Qin Jin's mouth rose. Which old general is willing to go into battle with the army? Everyone in the crowd was silent. Zheng Yifun's face was ashen. The group of God Might Battalion generals behind him were also silent. At this time they naturally wouldn't help Lin Muyu. At this time an old general with white hair and a white beard walked out of the crowd. He cupped his hands and said, "This old subject Su Ying is willing to assist the young general." Qin Jin smiled. "That's good. General Su is already close to 70 years old, but you are still as sharp as ever. It couldn't be better to have you accompany you to battle. Remember to take care of our son. He is our only son." Su Ying cupped his hands. "Yes, Your Majesty." The insignia on Su Ying's collar was a purple flower with 1 gold star. This was the rank of Lieutenant General and Chiliarch. It turned out that this old general's rank was even lower than Lin Muyu's. However, at this time, 2 attendants walked up and replaced Lin Muyu's insignia with 3 gold stars. This was the rank of commander. They also replaced Su Ying's insignia with 2 gold stars. This was the rank of captaincy. This was the only way to intimidate the army's morale. There wasn't much preparation. Su Ying only brought 50 of his personal guards. Lin Muyu gathered 700 people from the Eagle Nest Battalion and set off in the afternoon with the Emperor's imperial edict. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Jixing, and Chu Huaying escorted them all the way to the north gate of Swallow Orchid City. War is not child's play. Listen to General Su Ying's words. Feng Jixing patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and smiled. Lin Muyu nodded. "Yes, I will." Qin Yin's face was full of worry. She reached out to pull Lin Muyu's reins and said, "Brother Yu, legend has it that the demon race is very cruel and fierce. You must be careful." Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, "Don't worry. Mu will definitely come back to see us in one piece. Isn't that right, Mu?" Lin Muyu cupped her fists and smiled brightly. "Princess Xiao Yin and Princess Xiao Shi, please don't worry. Although I don't know what the demon race is like, I won't lose. Trust me." "Yes." The 2 girls raised their heads. Su Ying said, "General, it's time for us to set off. The war is urgent. We can't afford to be sentimental." Wei Chou laughed. "Yes, sir. It's time for us to set off. Our brothers are all waiting to kill the demon race. Moreover, we all want to see what the legendary demon race is like. Yes, let's go." The demon race was a huge race that lived in the endless forest in the west of the empire. It was said that there were more than 1 million demon race members, but only about 30% of them could fight. However, the demon race's armor and weapons were very simple and crude. They mostly used their primitive abilities to fight, so their battle strength was not very strong. This was also the reason why Qin Jin had not mobilized the entire empire's military to fight against the demon race. The demon race had at most 300,000 soldiers, but the human army definitely had more than 1 million soldiers. Chapter 280. A day and a night later, Lin Muyu, Su Ying, Wei Chou, and the others arrived at Yao Subduing Pass. From a distance, they could see smoke rising from the pass, and soldiers were constantly moving supplies to and fro. The main camp of the Imperial Army was within the pass. At this time, the gates were wide open, and a group of heavy cavalry charged out, spears in hand. "Is it Lady Lin Muyu?" a blood-stained cavalryman asked respectfully. Lin Muyu nodded. "Yes, it is us. How is the situation?" The cavalryman wiped the blood from his face. "These demons seem to be attacking like crazy. This is the 2nd attack today and the casualties among the Imperial soldiers are very high. The commander of the vanguard, Wuxia, is waiting to hand over military authority to Milord. Please follow me." "Amen." They galloped into the city. The moment they entered the pass, they heard wails all over the ground. All of the Imperial Army's camps were set up inside the pass, and the entire camp was about to become a camp for wounded soldiers. Wounded soldiers who had not received treatment were everywhere. Not far away there were at least 100 wounded soldiers lying on the ground, most of them wounded by arrows. A general drenched in blood ran back and forth with a long saber in his hand. He suddenly grabbed a logistician and shouted angrily, "Where are the medical officers? Where are the medical officers? Hurry up and treat my brothers." The logistician's face was ashen. "General Tang, we really don't have enough medical officers. Where are the people from the spiritual medicine department?" General Tang continued to ask. The logistician trembled with fear. More than 100 people from the spiritual medicine department went to the vanguard to treat the wounded soldiers of the Tianchong army first. Bullshit. General Tang sent him flying with a slap. The wounded soldiers of the Tianchong army are imperial soldiers, but are the wounded soldiers of our Qihai city not imperial soldiers? Why should we treat them first? General, this has nothing to do with this lowly one. It's General Yu Wenxia's order. At this time Lin Muyu and the others had already arrived. Su Ying raised his eyebrows. "Hey, what's going on here?" General Tang scowled and said angrily, "And who are you people? You're probably here for nothing." "How dare you?" Su Ying sternly said, "We were sent by His Majesty to defend the demon-subduing pass. This is the former Commander-in-Chief Lin Muyu. I am the Deputy Commander-in-Chief, Su Ying. Who are you?" "Lousy. I am 7C City's Deputy General Tang Zhen." Tang Zhen raised his head to look at Lin Muyu. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he said, "General, if you really are the Commander-in-Chief who has come to defend demon-subduing pass, please immediately order the military doctors to treat my brothers. They won't last much longer. The archery of those dear demons is frighteningly accurate." Lin Muyu nodded. "General Tang Zhen, there's no need to say anything. A doctor will be here soon." "Thank you, General. Come with me." "Yes." The Central Army tent was at the heart of demon-subduing pass and was surrounded and protected by layers upon layers of barracks. This pass that could garrison 20 soldiers truly lived up to its reputation. At this time, everyone in the Central Army tent was frowning. General Yuan Xie's face was ashen, his armor broken as he sat there. Beside him was his son Yuan Lian. In this battle the Imperial Army had suffered heavy losses. After Yuan Xie returned to the Imperial capital, he most likely wouldn't be able to keep his position as General Yuan Xie. Lin Muyu walked forward and took out the Imperial Edict. "General Yuan Xie, I have come by His Majesty's Imperial Edict to defend demon-subduing pass. I order you to immediately lead your personal guards back to Lanyan City to hand over the edict." Yuan Xie hurriedly stood up. His face was not as ostentatious as before. He cupped his hands and said, "Young General, we have done our best but the demons are too strong. Enough, no need to say more. His Majesty will make his own decision." "Yes." Yuan Xie handed over his tiger seal to Lin Muyu. He then led a group of personal guards out of the Central Army tent. Yuan Lian, on the other hand, was still in good armor. He glared fiercely at Lin Muyu and said, "Now it's as you wish. The entire demon-subduing pass is yours. Just wait and see. Those demons will naturally teach you a lesson." Lin Muyu's gaze was ice-cold. She did not reply. Around them, a group of generals of captaincy rank sat dejectedly. Most of them were generals of 7C City. Without waiting for Lin Muyu to speak, a white-haired old general stood up and said, "Young General, Yuan Xie lost because he was too proud of his achievements. Moreover, he was too distant. He actually transferred the majority of the camp's medical officers to the Tianchong Army's camp to treat the wounded soldiers. Our 7C City, in one night, over 1,000 soldiers from 7C City died because they didn't receive treatment." Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, "Old General, don't worry. Someone send 70% of the medical officers to the 7C City's casualty camp. Go do it immediately." "Yes." An employee of the spiritual medicine department cupped his fists and accepted the order. Instantly, all the captaincy of 7C City cast praising gazes. Just an order had allowed Lin Muyu to quickly rally the morale of the 7C City army. Although the news of Lin Muyu killing Tang Bin had already spread throughout the world, the majority of these generals of 7C City were border generals. They had not even met Tang Bin once, so naturally they would not feel hatred towards Lin Muyu. At this time, a military supply officer said in a low voice, "Young General, our rations are seriously insufficient. This morning, the number of arrows was already less than 100,000. What's worse is the lack of medicine. The gold wound medicine and healing medicine have almost been used up. The news of Yu Shu returning to Lanyan City to request for medicine has been delayed." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "What's going on? It should be the spiritual medicine department supervising this matter. Why haven't the medicine arrived yet?" Su Ying narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "It must be Minister Luo Xing's doing. His son Luo Bin is in charge of half the spiritual medicine department. Luo Xing and Yu Wenxia have always been at odds, so he would delay the delivery of medicine to drag down the entire demon-subduing past battle situation." Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Immediately, all the captaincy stood up and cupped their fists, saying, "Young General, please give us justice. We, the soldiers, charge and break through the enemy lines, but the nobles of Lanyan City are enjoying fine wine and delicacies. They are not even willing to give us life-saving medicine. If that's the case, why are we still fighting? We might as well let the demon race pass through demon-subduing pass and slaughter Lanyan City." Lin Muyu hurriedly pacified the hearts of the people, saying, "Generals, don't be impatient. Don't worry, leave the matter of supplies and armaments to me." As he said this, he raised his eyebrows and said, "Wei Chou, immediately send a letter to the Imperial Guard Commander Feng Jixing Darren. Say that I asked him to help me supervise the supply of medicine, provisions and weapons. It would be best if he could send Zhang Wei to personally deliver these goods. Tell him that these are life-saving goods." Wei Chou cupped his fists, saying, "Yes, Darren." Lin Muyu then looked at the crowd and said, "How is the situation at Demon Subduing Pass?" Tang Jin's face was ashen as he said, "The military strength of the 5 main branches of the demon race has already appeared. They have gathered at least 200,000 troops and are unstoppable. If not for Demon Subduing Pass being sturdy, I'm afraid our camp would have long been breached." When General Yu Wenxia commanded the troops, he only looked at the sand table and commanded the battle. "Young General, are you the same?" Lin Muyu smiled and raised her hand to pick up the dragon spirit sword at the side, saying, "Wei Chou, Su Ying, follow me to Demon Subduing Pass. I want to see with my own eyes how powerful these legendary demon race are." Tang Jin was startled and hurriedly said, "Young General, be careful. The deer demon of the demon race is born with the ability to shoot a willow leaf 100 steps away. General, be careful of those stray arrows." "And got it?" Su Ying frowned and said, "Men, form a shield battalion and protect the young general." "Yes." The stone steps leading to Demon Subduing Pass had been weathered and damaged. At this time, they were stained with blood and the corpses of dead soldiers could be seen everywhere. Lin Muyu led Wei Chou and Su Ying up the city wall step by step. Behind the black battlements, rows upon rows of imperial soldiers were defending. Outside the city walls was an incomparably frightening scene. A densely packed demon race army was fiercely charging at the city walls. The main force of the attack was a group of people covered in scales. No, they were not humans because their lower bodies were long and black. They were twisting and turning madly, brandishing the spears and axes in their hands as they charged towards the walls of Demon Subduing Pass. Their faces were ferocious and their mouths were wide open, spitting out long tongues. Further away, there were demon race members with the upper bodies of beautiful women and the lower bodies of deer. They held longbows in their hands and aimed from afar at the soldiers on the city walls. With a whoosh whoosh sound they shot cold arrows. Their ability to shoot a willow leaf 100 steps away was not an exaggeration. With the sound of the bowstrings, soldiers on the city walls immediately fell. Su Ying looked coldly at the city walls and said, "The ones attacking the city are the snake men, a deformed race formed by the mating of humans and snakes. The ones shooting the arrows are the deer demons, the descendants of humans and deer. Among the 5 main branches of the demon race, the snake men are the most numerous and their battle strength is also the strongest. The deer demons have the most accurate archery, the bear demons are the strongest in strength, and the lizard men are the strongest at night. However, the true leader is still the half-fox demons." "Half-fox demons?" Lin Muyu frowned and said, "What are half-fox demons?" Half-fox demons are a group of demon race members with fox tails, fox ears, and a cunning nature. They are born with the ability to control fire, and among the 5 main branches of the demon race, their intelligence is the closest to that of humans. This time, the demon race has turned out in full force to attack Middle-earth. How despicable. Su Ying was a veteran general who had once followed Qin Jin to battle all over the world. He must have fought against the demon race before and must have suffered greatly. Otherwise he wouldn't have such a deep hatred for them. A captaincy of the Seven Sea Cities army said in a deep voice, "Young general, be careful. The deer demons are aiming at you." Lin Muyu turned around and saw a group of deer demons about 200 meters away aiming their arrows in her direction. These deer demons had already seen through Lin Muyu's identity and status, so they wanted to kill her. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the accurate arrows pierced through the air and arrived in the blink of an eye. Instantly, the group of human generals behind her were shocked. "Young general, be careful." The golden light shone brightly and the walls of the gourd penetrated the body, transforming into a huge gourd with a radius of several meters, enveloping a small part of the city walls. Those arrows were all blocked with bangs, causing the group of generals behind her to be dumbfounded. Many of them were valiant generals who had been through many battles, but their true strength was far inferior to the Divine Temple staff who were proficient in cultivation like Lin Muyu. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.